Slayer zone. That he's swinging with the charge up rapid, doing a billion damage.
Even as a duo, to output defense balls!
Welcome back to the Apex Legends Global Series for match day number 8. My name is Dia, and if you joined us this morning, you already know what's coming. Being brought out of their frightening liminal space between states of being, it is Graceful and Genome to bring us some amazing commentary for today's games here in the Americas region. Graceful, Genome, welcome to the broadcast. It is nice to have you back after what I'm sure was just, you know, a blip in the radar for you, Graceful, right? Sleep, wake up, Apex Cast.
I mean, that's just how I live it right now. Wake up, game, go back to sleep, game again. And seeing those games we just saw earlier, man, fantastic. And we have more to come as well.
We do. I mean, we had a pretty incredible story this morning, Genome. How are you feeling about Americas now that it'll be your third region to cover in a row?
Yeah, look, my head's spinning. There's a lot of names going through it. There's a lot of teams happening. Some of them are in the present. Some of them are multiple iterations of teams that we've had in like the last 3 weeks. So yeah, there's definitely a lot going on up there. Yeah.
There really is. Let's take a moment and help you ground yourself in today's games, and honestly help us all ground ourselves in today's games, because today for match day 8 we've got Group A and Group C. 19 teams, would be 20, but Complexity, we all remember Complexity, will not be joining us as they have all split up, gone their separate ways. So Group A and Group C will be battling it out to collect points on their path up towards the regional finals and beyond to the mid-season playoffs. Right now, let's take a look at the teams that are in a position to do just that. At the moment, Shopify Rebellion leading everybody, NRG and Falcons, no surprise there. However, looking a little further down the leaderboard, my eyes are drawn towards the 20th spot, where we've got Team Liquid, Forbidden Gaming, and CTE all right on the cusp of making it to the regional finals, with OMiT, Citadel, and Unleashed looking right up their tailpipe. I'm going to include LG in that as well because they're tied with Unleashed, and it would feel weird not to mention them there. Surprising that we have so many teams that are looking to advance to the regional finals but have not actually clinched it yet. And if you want a little bit of a graphic representation, this is exactly where you can find it. We've got some magic numbers up here with the advancing to the mid-season playoff happening in the high 60s. That 4 teams already totally fine with: HEG, Falcons, NRG, and Shopify Rebellion. Everyone else looking to advance to the regional finals. We've got quite a few teams qualified, but not everybody has made it just yet, Graceful.
I mean, whether or not you have made it left, depending on how many sets you still have left to play, it's more than doable for a lot of these teams. So nobody should be counted out yet. Anybody can still make it. But regardless of that, as well as we see regional finals having even more points so than before as well, it just comes to a shove that the finals is incredibly important. And these teams can't let go just yet. They gotta keep going.
Yeah, Genome, you're going to be collecting a lot more points when and if you make it to the regional finals. A big thank you to Xander Commander for putting together the number for teams that have already qualified into the mid-season playoffs.
Yeah, as that graphic was showing there, Dia, this is the first time where we've upped the amount of points that you get from the regional finals. So a good performance in the regional finals will give you more points than ever before and make it more likely that you're one of those. For the Americas region, 16 teams that qualifies for LAN. Can we just sit on that for a second, right? It is actually harder to qualify for the regional finals and not qualify for LAN than it is to qualify for LAN, right? Like that's a little insane.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like, Yeah. You know what? I see what you're saying. I think numerically it might not be as stunning to me, but it certainly is pretty crazy that the Americas have the amount of slots that they have. I want to take a look real quick at any things you might have missed in terms of org changes specifically, because I know we are going to be talking about these names a lot. And fortunately, here in the Americas, things are a little bit more calm. Last week under DSZ, we were calling them all gamers already because the announcement again had just gone out before the broadcast, but this week officially we've got everybody on DSZ, formerly DSZ, going to be under all gamers, in game, on broadcast, all that good stuff. For roster changes, however, Gino, what's been going on?
Yeah, well, we've got a couple of inclusions. Mangster is coming in for board. We've also got Cersei coming in from Team Orchid. That's a nice little pickup for Team Orchid, especially. Cersei had a decent performance coming off the back of the ALGS Open. And obviously, he's got some big shoes to fill there. Remembering that Panic obviously got poached from Team Orchid and moved over to TSM. I don't know if poached is too strong a word there, just the one that came to mind. But yeah, Cersei replacing him.
Really excited about the Panic stuff as well. Keep your eyes out for that this weekend, because there's a lot of conversation around what's going on with former Team Orchid and what could continue happening with TSM. But I'm already saying a lot of names. We've talked about some org changes. Graceful, help me narrow it down a little bit. Who should people be watching if they are just tuning in back into the ALGS?
I mean, I gotta stay true to my old roots at all times. VP, I'm a big fan of Zach. Whether you're a big fan of, Mazer Moment, or if you're, a big fan of his rising in risen stats as of lately with having good performance across the board, might not be the super flashy as people tend to go for. Oh, are they making insane clutches, or are they consistent? I'm always a fan of the consistent gameplay. If you can put yourself into that end game positioning, at some point it will click and you will have a super big pop-off game. This team is one of the teams that I'm looking for specifically because they are really, really strong overall across the board.
I mean, it definitely makes sense to me. Virtus.pro were a team and are a team that I'm pretty excited about. And they started off the season pretty strong. We'll see if they can claw their way back up there. Had some serious wins in their last match day, but fell off a little bit towards the back half. And so it is a matter of consistency. And when I think about consistency, there are a lot of teams that I could include as wanting to maybe get up there a little bit in consistency. Virtus.pro looking at some pretty nice fights so far, but when I think about nice fighting, Genome, I want to talk about your team to watch.
Okay, well, look, I've gone for LG here. LG is a team that right now, frankly, is struggling. They are on the cusp of not making it to the regional finals. I believe they're currently in 23rd position. They made a recent switch over with their IGL. Obviously, that's the sort of the hardest piece of your team to switch over. They're bringing in Nocturnal. He had a very good first match day with them. I was loving their comms. His prioritization in fights, I think, is elite. The way he communicates that to his team and makes sure that every team member is looking at the right thing is just fantastic. But then there was a big downturn in their next match day, and sort of the second half of their split so far has been kind of the same as the first half of the split with the previous IGL. So now it kind of raises this question of, like, was the switch really worth it? And as we look at their 6th match day here, you can see it was lacking a little bit. So really, it's all up to them in the next couple of days to sort of turn their fortunes around, because as we've said, you only need to get the top 16.
Yeah, I mean, you really do have very little distance to close. And one of the teams that I think has been doing really well at that is actually the Ninjas in Pajamas. Really fun team to watch, especially with the way that, honestly, they gave us a show. But in the last couple of match weeks, it hasn't really gotten them to the point where we're like, oh, they're absolutely shoo-ins for, say, things like the midseason playoffs. Yes, this roster can pop off, but it is a matter of having a couple of big match days in order to actually secure their spot, not just in the regional finals, but in midseason playoffs. Certainly a squad to look out for, especially, I mean, I'm a really big fan of the way that McLovin and Vayne have been working together during the course of this split, although it has been a bit of a rotating door when it comes to who they're playing with. At Kuref for a little while, they've been thinking about Keon, and my big question for this roster is not only are they going to be able to pull it together for some big performances towards the end of the split, but can they find a little bit more consistency in what they want to commit to as a long-term plan. It's very clear when you watch them succeed that they've got these high-level placements that they can stick up 5th, and 3rd, but they're pretty split up by some pretty egregious 14th, 19th, and 10th. You know, we can let that go, but consistency is going to be the key for this roster, and definitely a squad to watch. Graceful, give me one more before we head out.
I mean, I like to pick at the top, but I also like to pick at the middle. Flat in the middle of the pack right now, currently at 17th, I believe, is a team that has had a lot of good showing as well, to a degree. Especially we saw all the Kraber plays and all that edge play, I believe, on Stormpoint on their last set, where now, you know, do you like Nano because, you know, flat for the flat earth thingy, or do you like it for the fragging? I'm a big fan of the fragging, not too much anything outside of the game. I think that although they are in the middle of the pack, they have played 5 sets so far, I believe, and now you're kind of at the moment where you're feeling kind of good, but one bad set could turn that over really quickly. I really do hope that they get to stay at least at the upper half of the top 10 rather than below, because if you have one more bad set, then all of a sudden it goes from, you know, you have to make it count, really.
I definitely include Flat as being one of those extremely swingy teams too. I mean, this is the perfect example, right? They spend so much time bottom 10 and then all of a sudden 16 kills in a first place. You can't predict when this team is going to pop off, but they've all got so much. I mean, Kuzier has been really on everyone's mind. Nano as well. Pretty statistically interesting guy, especially when it comes to the ballistic and the amount of damage that he's able to do with that legend. We saw a pretty early ballistic ban over in EMEA this morning. How is that going to affect, or how does the potential for that affect Flat? Everybody figuring out exactly where they lie on these compositions with the legend bans, and Flat certainly a team to look out for on that. If you want to keep your eyes on Flat, if you want to keep your eyes on any team, doesn't matter who it is, you can always do that with Face It Watch, the place where you can go and watch any perspective of the ALGS your heart desires. We got main broadcast, we got map feed, we've got Flat, we've got NIP, we've got LG, and we've got Virtus.pro. And I tell you what, we've got, doing the quick math, 14 more teams on top of that. Nope, 15. That's how I did it right the first time. 15 more perspectives you can include in your viewing experience. You can customize them all, and even better, if you miss anything, Face It VODs has got your back, so you can go back and watch anything you may have missed over at faceit.com/watch. A really fantastic partner to have with us at the ALGS, because it lets you have that unleashed viewing experience and actually get to experience a lot of teams, the comms, throughout the day. Somebody check on TSM today. Somebody let us know what's going on with TSM. And while you're letting us know what's happening behind the scenes with them, let us know what you're thinking as well. We want to hear what chat thinks as the day goes on. And you are chat. Yes, you at home. Tweet at us. You can throw, of course, stuff here in Twitch chat for us to look at as well. And we'll find a way to pull some of that up during the halftime and engage a little bit with any of the crazy things you might see happening around the ALGS that we are trying to catch up on as the day goes on. There is a lot of action to cover, and there are so many individual pieces and fights that I honestly, I wish we could listen to more of, but I also like hearing Graceful and Genome talk. So Graceful, Genome, it is very close to our beginning of game one, but before we actually talk about, well, you know, what's happening during game one, let's talk a little bit about the overall look at what we've experienced in Stormpoint and then E-District coming out of this morning in EMEA, and Graceful, how you might expect that to change moving into North America.
I mean, if we're talking about region difference in general, I think that EU have moments where it's a lot more inty than NA. So you might see more teams play more towards the center zone compared to edge play, as we see in EU, where you had 6-7 teams collapsing on each other. In NA, I think we'll see a little bit more, not passive, but more tactical approach to it, where we will see more teams playing around buildings and playable areas, and then we'll only have fewer teams on edge. And how that will impact the game will make it so that the teams on edge might actually thrive more than we've seen on the opposite side of things in EMEA, where 10K played pretty much, they got 5 out of 6 end game zones. It could have had the 6th one as well, where maybe we'll see edge teams thrive here in NA. So that could be this the change up. Never mind the fact that legend bans can be differently. We saw a lot of ballistic now in NA. Will he be banned earlier than on EU? Well, we'll have to see, but for sure it'll be some good Apex.
Yeah, we are pretty close to determining what the meta is going to be when it comes to midseason playoffs as well. Genome, what did you make of this morning's games and the bans? I mean, Ash, then Alter was taken out on Stormpoint before we even got to E-District.
I mean, well, you can say we're close to figuring out the meta, DR. I'm not so sure about that one, to be honest, because it is very different across all of the different regions. I think once you mash them together, the way that legend bans work means that depending on which teams are in which lobby, you can get completely different ban sets. A fascinating scenario we had earlier today in APAC was where you had a 3-way tie. And it creates this like sliding doors moment where depending on who wins that series, it determines which one gets banned. And then all of a sudden, rather than having crypto for 3 games, you have crypto for 6 games in a series. And it's just this completely different scenario, right? So I think there's definitely some legends that are looking better than others. Ash, Alter, maybe a Ballistic. But, I think I think there's still some figuring out to be done.
Well, the nice thing, Genome Graceful, is that we get to do that figuring out right now live on the ALGS because game 1 is spinning up as we speak. So I'm going to toss this one over to both of you to take us through the first game of the day.
Thank you so much, DR. All right, well, we've got one region down, as we mentioned, and we are very, very close to getting into Stormpoint here on in the Americas at Graceful. So I don't know, what are you looking forward to thinking about the teams that we've got here in this particular set of groups?
I'm mainly looking forward to see the fighting occur inside the zone, because I think it was very chaotic on EMEA, like we said. You can't keep track. It was one of the games where the camera shifted. Nothing on the spectators. You just, because there's 7 fights happening at the exact same time, and you're trying to catch all the action. It's almost you can't catch any of the action because it's just too chaotic. I'm hoping we see a little bit more tactile, like setups and execution on fights, because I think it's a really good learning moment for everybody watching at home as well. It's like, how do you actually approach a fight outside of the typical Ash TP on somebody or Ballistic Ult and ape somebody, or just like that way, or an alter Q through a wall. Maybe now you can see it unfold a little bit slowly and learn something from that, because I think at the end of the day, we all love the game, and if you play Apex on your own, you kind of want to take something from it to bring to your own arsenal when you go into maybe ranked or pub games.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I love trying to pull out cool tech that we see pros do, and then completely fail my wall bounce tap strafe to try and style on a guy when I get into my games, right? That's all the fun of watching esports, is seeing the people who can do the things that frankly you can't. But that's why we're here. That's why we enjoy watching these guys so much. Yeah, look, thinking about the 20 teams that we have in this lobby, Graceful, I mean, obviously we've got massive stories here, like Falcons coming off some very, some very strong performances. Is there anyone else that's catching your eye that you think could have a big performance today?
I mean, I'm mainly looking at, I would say, NRG for me specifically, because I feel like that's a team that, let's be honest, never mind the fact that orgs also change teams and roster changes and everything. All of these orgs somehow, like, still the powerhouses orgs are always at the top. Like, they always get the best teams essentially, because they're, they're big orgs, and they sponsor their players and give them the resource and opportunity needed to explode. But we can't, the players alone as well bring so much to it, where honestly, so, like we even see from CC teams coming up out of nowhere. The players are so strong. We saw Floating on the last LAN. Did people know who he was before? All of a sudden, he's like, oh my god, he's running through every team on LAN. And I think the potential is just incredible on that roster specifically. Energy is looking really strong right now. And I mean, they're pretty much already safe. But, you know, I still like to vouch for them.
Yeah, I'm sure they appreciate your support. I'm looking forward to supporting all of the Apex teams, frankly, as they make their way to the mid-season playoffs. We've got a little package here to preview that tournament. Why don't we take a look at that? All right, so that is the next big LAN that we've got coming up in Year 5 for ALGS. Look, Dia, we are about to grab this next lobby. We're just trying to get that restarted, but in the meantime, why don't we, start thinking about where these teams are landing in their first map here?
Why don't we? I mean, so we are starting on Storm Point. For those of you who may be unaware, we'll be moving over to E District a little while later, but Storm Point is where the stage really gets set for the subsequent matches and where you can make a pretty big impact. One of the things that I'm noticing, my eyes drawn to immediately, Genome, is up in the north. In EMEA, we had Trident taken, nobody at North Pad. This time, Trident taken and Corinthians at North Pad. So Virtus.pro kind of stuck with a weird POI. It's an awkward spot, right? You take Trident, you're like, nobody's going to take North Pad because I'll fight them. But then they're there and you're like, do I actually fight them?
Yeah, it's a funny one. That said, I think because they get access to the Trident, that by itself almost makes it worth it, right? Like a lack of loot sometimes can be circumvented by just, good macro and quick rotations using the Trident. But I guess, as you said, there's more spots taken because we had 18 teams in the previous lobby, and in this one, there's 19.
And when you have that extra spot open, Graceful, it can leave an opening for a team to really take advantage of extra space on the map, maybe an extra POI. What spots are you looking at that are most impactful when you're thinking about how to approach Storm Point?
I mean, from personal experience right now, I would say, I still prefer mid-speed the most, so honestly, any POI is ish playable. But I would say the southern side mainly, like Barometer is really nice. I like Cenote Cave is really nice. Mill is also very nice. As we can also see that the devastated coast actually, Falcons pick. Everybody's picking these POIs for a reason due to the fact that they're very adaptable regardless of where the zone is. You're really playing for the second beacon knowledge before you head in. And when you can just accumulate, when you're on edge, a lot of more rotational loot, that will help ease it rather than, let's just say VP, rather we talked about the Trident, right? If you just boost for something, you misread the zone and you have no loot, it's gonna be a lot tougher than when you're playing mid-speed, because then regardless of where the zone is, you'll be in a great spot. But remains to be seen. If they do take that fight to North Pad, LG was right next door, so could easily 3P that as well. So gonna be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, really curious about that. I mean, even back when, it's funny, back when Sweet was on LG, he was landing at checkpoint and going, yeah, I'll just third party North Pad, it doesn't matter. And so it's funny to see a very similar thing happening, even though so much has changed in Apex Legends. So many things have stayed the same as well. Also really looking towards the south side of the map, Falcons and Ninjas in Pajamas landing close to each other. You mentioned the Falcons landing over at Devastated Coast. The fact that nobody is landing over at Coastal Camp actually may be opening things up for the Ninjas in Pajamas, Genome. This is looking to be an interesting map, like interesting 3 games on Storm Point, and I think it's high time we got things started.
Indeed, everyone is loading in to that first match you can see on your screen right now. It is Storm Point to start off with, E-District later in the day, but we've previewed those POIs, Graceful, so we've got a really good idea of where the teams are landing, how it's going to play out. Compared to the EMEA draft we saw before, you know, a couple of key differences. I think one of the ones that I kind of was noting there was that Falcons was down in Devastated Coast. That was left empty in the EMEA draft, and they are honestly one of the biggest outliers as far as it goes on that side of the map. Like, that POI is kind of average, and the Falcons have just had some ridiculous games down there.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody can convert off any POI, it's definitely Zero and the boys, so no doubt there for sure. I think that we're gonna see some very interesting gameplay out. My main question is, where will the zones be? I think for EMEA, that was probably one, if not the only few times where I'm very happy with the zones. We saw a zone all the up in Waltz. We saw a zone all the way in Jurassic. We saw a zone all the way in Beast as well. If we can have that zone variety, that's also one of the main reasons you typically see a very mix of performances across the board. Will that be the case here on NA? Will several teams take dubs, or will we see the likes of 3 wins for one team and 2 wins for another team? You know, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that's right. If anyone missed the EMEA series we had earlier, we had a bonus point. 10K actually got the bonus point for winning 3 games in a series. That's essentially what the kids would call a generational performance. Who knows? Maybe we'll see another one here in Americas. And we're going to start off having a look at the team I was talking about earlier. It's LG. And... oh, LG30. I was like, oh my god, have they got a sub? But I think is that just because Nocturnal just turned 30? I think it might be.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. This is one of the things, I gotta say it here. Everybody, you know, oh my god, he's 30, he's too old. And then I look at fighting sports, I'm like, this guy is like peak at 35. Like, what is this? What is this about the 30? They still got this. He still got this. I think they can make this happen. However, a little bit intrigued about the Volt pickup. I would assume that's a pickup for essentially swapping over later for the Devo, or is that just a preference in SMG? That would be very interesting to see.
Oh, we'll keep an eye on that as they progress through the game. Maybe they'll switch it over at some point if they find the right spot for it. But in the meantime, it looks like we've got... I'm just going to straight up call this one a bean zone, Graceful. I don't know if you're going to agree with me here. I mean, potentially a chance that kind of goes back towards Cito. I don't think this goes towards Mill, but it just seems very bean to me.
Yeah, it's typically around Godrock here, which is the southwest side of this zone. Very active currently. There's also a little bit of pulls. We have seen some on the southeast, but that's like very unlikely. It's most likely around Godrock, I would say. Very fun zone to play personally. I mean, Rock is going to be incredibly happy on that rock because that's the Godrock. And when you have that free shooting, teams are the only chance they have to push them off the rock is right now, because the earlier the better. But once you get 5-6 teams in there, like, nobody's gonna look to make a play on that Godrock for sure.
Well, you talk about, you know, how easy and hard it is to knock people off there, right? And we were having a chat about this with the Down Beast zone earlier today, about how Alta changes everything. Now, I haven't seen a Godrock zone with Alta being unbanned, well, basically since Legend bans came in. Do you know if the Alta Void Passage can be used to get through Godrock, or is it too thick?
No, I'm pretty sure you can still get up there, but the main issue is that when you can't really survive underneath on your own.
Right.
Where, like,
too open.
A lot of the times, yeah, like a lot of the times, let's just say here as an example, in market building, if there's a team playing on roof, at any point you could just go up because you're safe underneath. But when you're under Godrock, you get shot at by everyone. You can't really survive there. You have to play either at the cannon, or you have to play in this building where Liquid is playing currently, but then you still have to make that cross and make it up there. And never mind the fact that you're kind of going blind, because, like, realistically, you would only go when you hear something happen, and you don't really know what you're going into. It's, in my opinion, too much of a risk unless that's your only play to make. It would be very interesting to see that happen.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I guess even if you're the team up the top, right, similar to probably having a Wraith or whatnot, you can at least pop your Void Nexus down and potentially jump off Godrock and then be able to port back up. Though, as we've noted, there have been some changes to the Legends recently. One of them being that they increased the cooldown on using the Void Nexus from 30 seconds to 60 seconds, which is a bit of a difference as we see Renetricky hitting some beautiful charge rifle shots at long distance. 220 damage in 2 shots.
Humongous charge rifle. But yeah, the changes definitely do help as well, because Alter Ultimate as well, you know, how fast you can follow somebody through a TP now also got reduced from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, which help you potentially take that advantage, in fact, a little bit more. So if you down somebody and they try to escape, you have a faster period of time to where you can actually engage on them and maybe chase them through the TP if you want to. 6 seconds is still a long time. That's at least 1 free reset pretty much. Whereas the ballistic change also, you know, helped reel back his aggressiveness a little bit. So I think overall great changes. Like that the devs are keeping track of it, making a little bit faster, swift changes now. Although small, I would rather small than wait for 3 seasons before big changes happen. So this is a good step in the right direction. So far, really enjoyed.
Oh, I'm so on board with you. And I think, honestly, most of the community, especially the competitive community, who is constantly engaging with the game, agrees with you there. It's so much better to have these swift changes and to just have little tweaks to things like, you know, Alter feeling very strong, Ballistic feeling very strong. You love to see that. Now, the Falcons, interestingly, they are being held out by Flat here, all the way down at the pylon. Also interesting to note is how they've set up their composition here, Graceful, because you've got Hal, for my money, probably the best Fuse player in the world, and he's given it over to Waltzy. We've got Imperial Hal playing the Sparrow.
Yeah, that's definitely super interesting, and seeing this mix-up is definitely a thing. But as we see, regardless of what character he's on, Hal is still swinging with Sparrow, almost get taken out in the back. He does, and Zero goes down as well. It comes down to Waltzy on this Fuse, as you say, as he swings with the P20. Whiffs a little bit due to the fact that there's Bloom on the weapon, and he gets taken out. Falcons goes out as, you know, that was a little bit sloppy because I'm pretty sure they split in that fight. I'm not sure how Zero went down, but Hal went on his own, got taken out, and then Zero as well. Good fight for Flat though, showing signs of life when they really need it.
Yeah, you know that Falcons aren't going to be very happy about that one. As you said, really split. Looked like they were trying to take some off angles, but you know, the power of sticking together and just having you know, multiple sort of turning it into, you know, a couple of like 2v1s, etc. is very powerful there for Flat. So they'll take the win and an early knockout for Falcons. First team to go down. Of course, we've only got 19 teams in the lobby, so that's why there's only 18 left.
Yeah, I mean, another good part as well is the fact that this zone pulled towards Godrock. So Rock is going to be very happy with that, as other teams are now starting. Well, they probably knew where the zone was going already regardless, but getting those kills on edges is very nice. But as you can see as well, it was only about 4 to 5 teams on edge. A lot of these teams in NA are opting more for the strategical approach of getting in early rather than late. So that will change how this plays out, because now everybody that's late on edge, triple purple armor like we see here on Alb and Crook, like they're gonna make madness on anybody who stands in their way.
Knock them over like some bowling pins. They want to be the wrecking ball coming through. Twisted Minds trying to do that from the north side of Storm Point right now. Zone has pulled a little more central between sort of Mill and Bean. And we've got TSM. They're sitting all the way over in Jurassic. They're having a look at Flat after that win against Falcons. Why don't we have a listen in with TSM and see if they're willing to take this fight?
Take Q. Shot cracked off that batting. You guys peek through the fucking Jurassic thing.
Peek back, Gent. Oh wait,
yeah, what's They're in Ballistical. They're trying to fight this. They're in Ballistical. Cracked him on the left door.
Okay, that was a quick little one. TSM hiding behind their mobile shield right now. Oh no! And with Panic going down, It could be Duplex and Jet just having to gap it here. They're actually going in completely different directions. One going towards Cedo Station. The other actually trying to make their way out through the tunnel to the north of Jurassic here. So I feel like we see more teams do this more and more nowadays as TSM does actually get fully eliminated. Different squads combining to take them out.
Yeah, most definitely. Flat is not letting go at all. They're just running at people right now, and they're winning the fights 3v3. As you snowball that confidence with those team fights behind you, they're gonna feel really good going into this match, because not only do they have a side cleared, they already have several KP, so they're feeling really good about that.
Absolutely, having that that much KP to start off with means even if you go down now, you've still had, you know, an average game. You've done what you needed to do, and there's no doubt the Flat can convert even more if they keep playing like that. That's it. They're kind of just waiting on the edge of the zone right now. There's a lot more teams in clustered positions, like up in Mill here. You got Twisted Minds, Virtus.pro, Board, and Citadel Gaming all in the area. Good shots coming out from Alb, one of the hottest players in Apex Legends right now. It feels like this meta is kind of made for him in some ways, and he's being able to show his skill on a range of different characters. I think he was opting for maybe a lucky kidnap on a team on the roof there. Doesn't find anyone, and Twisted Minds are just spreading out now, hoping that maybe some of the Sparrow tracking darts will give them some information. Unfortunately, the Stinger Bolt is not available. Board and Forbidden Gaming have gone down in the meantime. But Twisted Minds, despite sharing this building with Virtus.pro, don't seem to be running into them.
Yeah, I mean, as these fights begin to simmer a little bit, Alb definitely looking super comfortable on a wider range of characters, as he is very, you know, very mechanically gifted, and he's very strong at that. Flat, however, still ends up in a third fight for the game so far, looking very happy to push teams down as they're just looking for kills. Can't believe that they're still not letting go of the gas pedal, but they are that confident, and they're fighting NIP right now, or NIP. And yeah, starts to slow down a little bit though. They try their best to keep going, but 50 seconds. So I always say that zones doesn't hurt. This zone still does not hurt. You're not really scared of this zone. When this zone closes in 50 seconds though, you don't want to be on edge anymore, and you definitely don't want to run into the side where you're getting gate capped by several teams, as NIP is lurking right now. They don't know about it.
Yeah, you can see Vane is happy to let them go past, honestly. Just probably hoping to maybe collect some banners and then sort of chuck a Hail Mary play towards the zone. I've got to say, when you do have a bean zone, and it's not, it actually pulls back towards Mill, by the way. But regardless of that, approaching this bean zone in a, you know, a ring 3 countdown is very hard. There's always a team at Armory, there's a team at the market, and even sometimes the small house below market as well. And when you pull in here, all three of those are essentially going to be in solidified positions, focusing on you, and I just don't love Flat's chances of being able to do that unless maybe they can evac above that and get even further.
Yeah, I mean, an evac regardless, evac is good, is better than walking in a lot of these cases, but I believe a building is actually free somehow for them to walk into. But a blind evac could spell, you know, disaster in the wrong case scenario where you pick a spot that's already taken that you might not see. However, they get to walk in kind of for free actually. But speaking of not free, OMiT, however, comes down to a single player here. Cole, or RKN, looking to hopefully reset them if he can, because he is in a rough spot.
I mean, RKN, he's certainly trying to be rent-free in everybody's heads recently, tweeting a lot about how, you know, OMiT have not been trying to play with a lot of practice. They're just trying to show up and do the best job they can. It worked at the Open. Will it work here today? I don't know. We'll have to find out. Movistar Koi are going to take out Leave No Witness right on the edge of the zone. And as soon as they do that, of course, they're not going to be alone. Maybe some lucky Kraber shots get them out of this spot. Blinks are looking for those, dancing around through the Void Passage. And every time he comes back, he's got another R9 clip to throw into someone, but it's still not enough in the end. And Movistar Koi will be eliminated.
I mean, they thirded and they got 4 and 5th after. So really goes to show if you play on the same side as everybody else. And then NIP from behind them took over market. Everybody's giving up their positioning to 3P and 4P and then ended up getting 5P. Is it really worth it now? You either full commit to take that spot and fight the next team, or you leave your spot and you get caught out. And speaking of caught out, Flat behind the NIP for the 6P essentially gets over there, gets a few kills, and now they're in a great spot to take another fight as all the other teams are rotating towards the next zone.
I feel like I'm in Sesame Street here with Graceful. We're ticking up through the numbers here as endless squads seem to pile in for these fights. And potentially, as we sit under Godrock here, who knows, maybe we'll actually get that interplay we talked about with teams zipping up and down through the Godrock via the altar passages. But in the meantime, it's Flat who have been trying to steamroll the lobby, and we see them looking around. Corinthians, Most Loved, even Rock just to their west, Graceful.
Yeah, I mean, even if we saw all the action happen on the southern side, the action still hasn't stopped in the middle of Mill, where the zone actually pretty much ends at, right as a little bit outside of Mill. As LG gets a reset, VP was inside with one guy down, as well as everybody's just looking to take space, but also making sure that nobody's jumping on them. And speaking of jumping on them, Rock is still on Godrock, holding down, knocking Lesser, and now they're just staring there, wanting to walk in slowly with the zone because they should have a playable area in front of them. But on the opposite side of the things of the Rock, or they're getting held down by Peters.
Yeah, plus, at least they've got the catwall available. Vaxlon ready to go. He can do this, find themselves a playable spot, and also be able to dance around that wall to potentially take down Flat, who are on the walk-in, but nothing will stand in their way. Flat are on an absolute tear here in game one. What a start.
I mean, they've been running through teams so far. The fact that they're still up right now, there's a Kraber staring at them. Kimchi here looking with the Kraber, hoping to get a shot in. They're probably going to get the reset there, which is absolutely crazy. Even if they were to fall here, they're already on 15 points overall. That's, yeah, they went out there, but they had a great game so far, even though they died out earlier on the 7th spot, I believe. That was still really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, Flat have already put 15 points on the board. That's a stellar first game. LG currently with 3 other squads by the looks of it in just this one Mill building left alive. Stinger Bolt is detected. He will be able to use that Newcastle passive to pull his teammate out of the range of that, so he's not getting zapped, not getting slowed, not getting damaged, and not getting full killed. Extremely important. Allows LG to grab the full reset here, especially when you've got Twisted Minds across from them. I think it's Citadel Gaming on top of the roof, and then Liquid Alienware are trying to play outside, but currently Fusion occupy the zone. And you can see them actually taking a lot of space over here as Yanya gets the respawn.
I mean, respawn or not, do you see this zone in the top left? Fusion literally has 99% of the next zone closing. Every other team is inside Mill, has to fight their way out. The only way Fusion loses this is if they either get triple swung or double swung by Citadel here, or if somebody essentially just snipes them with a Kraber. Here though, we're seeing some Skynades coming in, hoping to put Fusion off of the height, but that doesn't phase them as they have a Newcastle looking to reset here. But Citadel not easing up on the pressure as LG pushed outside of the building to take a fight early against Team Liquid here. Huge PK shots coming in from Shubi, comes down to a 1v1, and Team Liquid takes that home.
No. All right, well, Fusion have given up some of the height. You can see Kimchi swinging around the side here, looking for angles, but is stymied by the cat wall. The Peacekeeper, if you choke it up for long enough, it'll shoot like a sniper at these kind of ranges. And we've got Twisted Minds now just trying to get under the rock. They know if they stick as close as possible to it, it does make it hard for Fusion to shoot directly down. They're firing cat spikes here behind the boxes, just trying to deny them the small amount of cover they have. Dan Mantic is going to replace the Newcastle wall here just to provide them a little bit of protection for any grenades that Twisted Minds might be able to throw up.
Fusion has been holding this positioning for a good duration right now, but can they make this into an advantage as they get a huge Dragon down here pretty much on Crook?
Massive! He goes in!
Swap.
Goes in with a couple of big PK shots here, and that should be Fusion having the advantage in this fight, but they want to go straight back up. Great use of the Void Passage to get back up to the top here. January just trying to get an angle, but it's hard around the mobile shield. Can he find a spot to do it? He's waiting for Albralele to come up. Beautiful with the R9. Albralele has been, I don't want to say pioneering, but he has been playing this weapon even when everybody else was sticking to the P20s. And my God, if he doesn't look good with that gun.
I mean, R9 is a phenomenal gun, but you cannot dispute the fact that Twisted Mind played that from the bottom side. Almost got insta-down by 200 damage from the PK pretty much. And then they still won that fight by stalling it out with that Newcastle wall shield we saw on the bottom. Eventually came down to a 2v1 at the top as he took the Q together from the altar. Closed out that game phenomenally. Double swung that. Holding hands is one of the things I always say you have to do as a team. Held hands they did indeed, and they won from that.
Wow, that was incredible. Let's have a look at the results for our first match here in Americas. 20 points for Twisted Minds. And you know, when you have those unlikely wins from those spots, it always strikes me that, you know, Twisted Minds could have been 6 points poorer on this graceful. If they had lost that fight, they'd most likely be on 14 points and Fusion would be on 20. That's kind of how that swing works. Meanwhile, Flat and Liquid Alienware getting 15 points each is also very impressive. An even spread of damage across our top 3 teams here, as all of them just get about 3k damage.
Solid damage overall, and nobody except Mav as an outlier here for Citadel Gaming. They're all pretty much playing around the same playstyle, but they're all impactful in the fight, probably triple, double swinging, getting that team damage, probably sharing damage taken, and that's a good thing to have as a team. The thing though is to, as you said about, you know, winning the games, sometimes winning games is fun and it feels good, but winning games that you shouldn't win feels even better, and I'm sure they're very happy with that play. And as of now, you know, that was game 1. I think that was action-packed. I need a little break, and I think you guys need a little water break as well, as we will be back soon for game number 2 coming up shortly.
Being called a prodigy isn't easy. The pressure, the expectations. I'm just kidding. I was born for this. And yeah.
The future is here! Are you ready?
I've got endless determination, a lifetime of practice, and a total lack of media training.
Success still come overnight. Just watch me put up a fight. Locked in, I'm feeling cold as ice.
Let's move.
I don't know how to slow down.
Find my target. Time to say ciao.
Doing work on a holdout. It's looking like it's a blowout.
More eyes on you means less on me.
Putting in audio with top. Making my way up to the top.
Sing it out.
The first in line, the next in line. I can't deny I've been.
I'm in the games, I'm on your screens, and now I'm on billboards? Oh, check this out. Che figata!
It's looking like it's a blowout. Putting in audio with top. Making my way up to the top.
Coming in hot.
The first in line, the next in line. I can't deny.
Later, champ.
Here I go. Do it again. Surprise. Woohoo! I didn't know I'd end up here, but I do know how it ends.
Yeah.
I've heard losing builds character. Let me know how that goes.
Been waiting my whole life for this. Yeah. Been getting so right for this. Hey. Been waiting my whole life.
Hey ragazzi, we did it! dimension.
Welcome back, me, for game number 2. Also, welcome back, you, Genome, and you at home. It is nice to see everyone as we prepare for the second game of the day. The first one, already a nice story starting to be told. I mean, we had some crazy stories over in EMEA this morning, but having Twisted Minds come out on top in game number 1, Genome, I didn't have that on my bingo card.
Ow, look, it's within the realms of possibility. These guys have been playing so well lately, but I don't think, yeah, it was necessarily top of anyone's list. That said, especially with how it happened in this game, I think that was the most surprising. It's not that it was Twisted Minds, it was the manner in which they did it. We saw Fusion with this just excellent spot on top of the rock, playing it very well. You saw them being able to dip in, up, and down with the void passages. And then at the last moment, they kind of stumbled.
Kimchi low-key frying with the Kraber up until that point as well. I mean, Fusion had such a good spot, but Twisted Minds did a really good job of playing pretty small until it was time to play for the win. And then we saw Alter make such a huge difference in this endgame. Alter and, of course, the Peacekeeper, because Crook, let's be honest, took a couple of shots to the face. I love the call out on Albraleli's use of the R99 as well. A lot of innovation coming from this player this year, as you pointed out. And then to take it to the win was just even more stylish.
Even that void passage at the end there, did he pop out behind them? Was that just like, because one of the weirdest things about how the void passage works with these excellent R9 clips there at the end is just like, if you get it at the right angle, it can just have these sort of like weird instant pop-outs where it feels like it should take longer somehow because you're going such a far distance.
It's true, like you get to break so many rules of physics going through the portal that it can get kind of wild. Now, as much as I loved it, won't be seeing a play like that again because Alter is banned after match 1. So not following exactly in how we had things in EMEA this morning, but pretty darn close, as Alter was the ban in game 2, and in the Americas, she's the ban in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, this makes a lot of sense to me. I think out of all the regions, when I look at the bans in Americas, it just like, it kind of clicked. I'm like, yeah, that seems about right. In some of the other regions, I'm kind of scratching my head. But for me, Alter is the best legend in the game right now. She's just the most versatile. She brings anything you could possibly want to the kit. The fact you can even flex her as like a skirmisher slash recon or a skirmisher slash support just makes her so versatile.
Yeah, it's a, what if I could move the team and support the team and also frag, because I go through walls sometimes. I mean, it can get pretty wild when you see all of the stuff that Alter can do put together over the course of a match, but with that no longer being an option, normally we'll talk about ways that you'll diversify. I really don't see the Alter ban being a huge stylistic change for a lot of teams. Maybe it's because she's so new, and so you aren't really building strategies around Alter so much as you are using Alter to keep you a little bit safer during the match. Now you'll see people starting to branch into what makes the team different. Are we playing defensive? Are we playing offensive? As an example.
I mean, I think it seems like a lot of teams are just sort of straight up swapping her out to Ashe here. It's almost like a one-to-one swap out there. Not that Ashe necessarily provides the same sort of utility that Alter does, but you know, she's kind of the next best option, and that's why we're seeing so much of Alter in game 1 and so much of Ashe in game 2.
Yeah, Ashe may not be able to take support perks, but everything else, she can move the team and she can skirmish like a beast. To the tune of 16 picks this game, Ashe will be our legend band moving into game number 3.
It actually is. It is an exact one-to-one. 16 picks for Alter in game 1, 16 picks for Alter in game 2.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow, that's actually really wild.
Lends a bit of credence to that thought pattern, I suppose.
You're not all talk, did you know?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I am all talk, but like, you know, sometimes the talk means something, I suppose. Anyway, we're very mid-map here, right? Like, we've gone very central. Everyone's pulling up into this sort of small area around the couple of buildings. There's essentially like 3 or 4 buildings in this area, and they are all highly prized. So expect to see teams really fighting over those. We have Leave No Witness as the only Watson team here. A lot of Catalyst. A lot more Catalyst we're seeing in NA than we're seeing in some of the other regions so far, dear.
And a lot less crypto as well. A lot of our IGLs opting for Sparrow instead. CIMJ, certainly one of those squads. I'm surprised they got Jomax back into the game. Jomax was not going to be tuned in with CIMJ, and after what feels like 45 minutes, they finally picked him up off the floor, something that a Wolf will not be experiencing this time as he gets full-thirsted by LG. Stay Naughty immediately finding another skirmish to take. Most Loved will go down as our first squad to be eliminated in Game 2.
GG. A couple points in the first game.
No LG.
But, not really going to be adding to that now. But yeah, as you say, LG having a rough time. Shubi already down and Nocturnal trying to dash away.
Should be able to make it out alive. ROC shooting from the low ground. Actually start around the mill, I believe. So ROC playing pretty mid-speed, and LG just playing their lives at the moment. Saucer, one of our few crypto players for this game, and a pretty defensive composition when you look at this overall. Crypto, Newcastle, and Catalyst. No Sparrow, no Ash, no nothing. I mean, ROC, they're playing a very conservative, very defensive game.
Fascinating, isn't it? Most of the time you see Crypto and you're like, oh yeah, okay, aggressive team, they want to get in there, they want to EMP teams and then fight them immediately. But as you point out, with Catalyst and Newcastle in your back pocket, all of a sudden you're like, oh, it kind of seems like the Crypto is just there to scout out other teams while we sit in one place and make sure that we are aware of threats coming towards us. So yeah, an interesting, different take on the Crypto.
Yeah, it's super fun to see that contrasted with the way that, say, Citadel or Leave No Witnesses are playing as well, where you'll see Crypto swapped out for Ash, and all of a sudden the composition does something totally different. All of a sudden you're Ash portaling and slamming on people and walling at them, and just one Legend pick can all of a sudden change the identity of so many others. And speaking of changing identities, we are changing some serious ones over here. Falcons were in trouble in Game 1. They're in trouble in Game 2, but it's Zero that pulls him out of it with a crazy Devo spray to take out Liquid Alienware.
Oh, it's just that freakish aim that Zero is known for. This is why he is all the way at the top there. When you look at M&K aim, as you see the tracking through the sky, really helping Falcons get their first points on the board. Must be noted, after the early exit to flatten Game 1, Falcons are going to be raring to go. You know, they hate not playing the games. They hate not being there until the end. They hate having to sit in the lobby waiting.
Yeah, you know, and the longer that it seems Falcons have to talk to each other, the harder it gets as well, because they will overanalyze their mistakes. They will find a way to catastrophize. And so the fact that they've got a team fight win under their belt, part of me breathes a sigh of relief for them, just because I'm like, okay guys, like, it's good. It's good. We don't have to blow up today. We don't have to get crazy. We just have to play the game of Apex Legends that everybody knows that you can. TSM playing a sort of slower game up here by Stormcatcher as well. They have sent a couple of people out just to scout. It'll be Duplex returning to the squad just now, as TSM are very invested in clearing out their back. Something that should be interesting with Twisted Minds actually coming up, maybe not behind them, but mirroring TSM's rotation into zone.
Yeah, of course, TSM equal last right now, 0 points on the board just yet, but still early days. Start of the second game, plenty of time to get the ball rolling there. As you said, sitting up towards Stormcatcher, you know, if they don't have the zone information, didn't quite get to check their minimap to see if they had that, but they'll be able to, you know, sort of get an idea of next steps now as this zone is revealed to everyone in the lobby. Flat and Twisted Minds are pushing up towards them, so it'll be interesting to see if those teams are looking to perhaps pick up the survey beacon over there and try and get some more information that way.
I do expect Flat and TSM to clash sooner than later. One of these teams going to mirror the other, and Flat caught in no man's land right now with their decision. Do they move down to the low ground, try and take the river and the fight with Twisted Minds? Do they move up to the high ground, try and take the fight against TSM? Or do you take the spider choke and wait for somebody to come to you? For a little bit more on that and what Twisted Minds are thinking down here on the low ground, let's take a listen in with them.
Cozy there, fellas. Spotted a clown over there. Well, got us an enemy vehicle there, folks.
Cannon.
I have reached the maximum level. Acceptable.
Twisted Minds, very, I'll say, controlled gameplay. I'm a little surprised, but despite using a couple of ults, despite getting a scan, most of their focus does just seem to be on one game plan they've decided on. It is take this building, it is play off the low ground, and that should be enough for them, to be honest. For the Falcons, maybe things get a little bit trickier as they're actually coming up right behind where Twisted Minds just were. So right in the wake of this squad, once Hal lands the thing, there we go. They're gonna get the scan as well.
I just love looking at the minimap to see how many times it's taken them to hit this. I know they were, I think that's like they were genuinely molding at Waltzy at one point in scrims this week about how long it was taking him on Sparrow to hit the thing. So who knows, maybe that's the reason why they've changed the roles around and put him on Fuse and put Hal on the Sparrow instead. But either way, it's a skill that it's a very new skill that a lot of these pro players are having to learn.
There's definitely a joke about crypto players and aiming in here. I don't know what it is, but there's something there. Falcons making their move down to the low ground did use a pretty early Ash portal to take this, which says something about the zone prediction and might say something about this care package. Zero getting that freakish aim coming out, but it doesn't quite find the collection this time. Instead, he'll be shot aside. Jelly taking out Zero. Falcons, I hesitate to say in trouble, but Zero's certainly in trouble as he'll need to be picked up by the squad, and Falcons don't have a whole lot of defensive utility.
Yeah, luckily for them, Movistar Koi are in a very good spot. They're in the ski lift building down the bottom, and they don't really want to move out of there. If they do, there's every chance someone else will try and third party, will try and take their spot. So luckily for Falcons, they're kind of heavily incentivized not to push and not to try and grab that full kill.
Ninjas in pajamas looking for a fight themselves. Kurev's got the heal online, still has a couple of stinger bolts to shoot out as well, but with Vayne getting taken down quite low, it'll be an emergency portal back to the squad, and Ninjas in pajamas are getting pushed. Return stinger bolt gets thrown out. Kurev needs to play defensive, doesn't have any heals, but does get to a little bit of cover. McLovin not so lucky. He'll be taken down, and Board make the best of the situation, moving on up to the high ground. Still plenty of mobility left on MJ. We'll see if the Skynet finds a crack. Vayne in trouble, but it's not going to connect. So Board, play the approach carefully. Kurev manages to take down Umi. MJ wants to answer, but he's swinging into two. He's getting shot in the back. MJ ports on out. Board putting up a big fight, but having to play extremely defensively as Ninjas in Pajamas have a great defense as well. OMiT show up just in time. And that should be to escort the Ninjas in Pajamas from the lobby. Out goes the evac tower, but I don't know if Kurev makes it, if I'm honest with you. That Devo gonna catch him before he hits the floor, and Ninjas in Pajamas are out.
I mean, OMiT literally, while that fight was happening, DR, we couldn't even see them on our map feed. They come out of nowhere from the south side of the map here to push Ninjas in Pajamas out. And Board, well, I mean, they're very happy that OMiT have showed up, frankly. Rock also, they were playing the Northern Tunnel coming out of Jurassic. as we said, they were happy to play defensive considering their composition that they've chosen for this game. So didn't opt to get involved in the fight in the end when it felt like they definitely could have been, you know, added an extra little bit of spice here down in Jurassic.
And OMiT immediately inheriting that fight. Remember we talked about Board earlier. Now that OMiT have actually cleared out the team that Board were fighting, they've still got to fight Board for the south side. AO extremely low, but I'm not going to see any bullets connect really through the wall. Sang playing patient with Cody. Rock still waiting to get involved. So this is a three-way engagement between the teams. Tracer bullet not going to connect for too much. And out goes another stinger bolt with Umi swinging. But OMiT playing this corner very carefully. Maybe Arcane could have played a little more carefully. He gets taken down, but there is a trade. And Rock, thinking about the third party, are sure to arrive. Perhaps OMiT can outlast.
Well, they do get a trade there, but Board completely removed, and now it's really up to Rock to just come off and finish this fight. You can see they've got them penned in. They're taking zone damage. This should be an easy cleanup. Cody's gone down. Cody's been full killed now, and it's just the last member, Sang of OMiT, who surely will go down to D's as soon as he can get an angle. Meanwhile, that fight is, you know, seems like there's only one way that's going to go, so why don't we go have a look at something else. It's Twisted Mind going down to flat.
If there is a squad that is going to take out Twisted Minds, it's got to be flat. They've been on a rampage today, and while they didn't close it out in game one, this is a team that knows no chill. They run at people, they take them down. Twisted Minds, as good as they played, are no exception. That'll be another squad eliminated as Rock just usher OMiT out of the lobby. We all knew it was coming for that last couple of seconds that they were in it. Now Rock have the south end of the zone where a lot of squads, Leave No Witness included, will have to move down a little further south and through. One heck of a traffic jam.
Oh my lord. So if you have a look at that little mini-map, what that's telling you is that Flat are in a killer position. Rock also in a great position, and once the zone closes in, they'll move a little bit closer together and be holding a lot of the zone. Everyone else, the other 9 squads, maybe apart from Forbidden Gaming because their building will remain in, are just going to be crushed together like a good tomato paste up on the north side here.
Yeah, this is going to get, I was going to say like grocery style because you had me thinking about tomato paste, but maybe I'm just hungry. I don't know what grocery style would entail. What I do know is that things are going to get crazy, and that's where we're going on this north side of the map. Fusion going to think about their approach down. Movistar Koi actually can stay where they are. These buildings are playable, or rather that building is playable. It's going to be a matter of weathering the storm of other squads that sure would like to share space with you. One of those teams being Virtus.pro, who may not be looking at the buildings, but are looking at the rock side of things, and being caught between a rock and the zone, never a good place to be. A couple of nades going to be eaten by Zach and the squad. Slayer unfortunately bites off one more than he can chew and will go down, although a res is possible for Virtus.pro as long as they don't get pushed.
You can still, they still have to move further though, dear. That rock spot, as terrible as it is not even in zone. So they try to stack there for the reset, but there are so many other teams that have decided that they just want to play for the next moment, the next minute, as they try and stick in these buildings here. Falcons actually managed to find a lower ground level to themselves, and they've even got the wall cat doored off.
Yeah, I'm like, how are they alone in this building? How is nobody else playing the low ground? Even TSM showing up a little bit late to the party are going to be watching things like this. CIMJMX going down. We've now got a swing from Forbidden Gaming onto Falcons. One down already. Hal, no fight back for him. But Waltzy is going to burn down to the mother load, leaving just 0 around 2. Maybe not clutch things up this time. Falcons are going to go down. 6 squads left. Forbidden Gaming, their job is done. They get to play the upper, or rather lower floor now.
Oh, well, just like a haunted house, they weren't so alone as they thought in the end. So Falcons will go down. And at this point, it's kind of like Rock and Flat are teaming together. As we said, they're both on the bottom side of the zone, barely shooting at each other, just looking at trying to pick up as much KP as possible at these teams up the top.
I I know you saw it, but for the viewers that weren't watching the mini-map, Nano, pretty crazy play there as well, walks all the way up to the buildings, takes out the entirety of TSM, and ults back to the team. Flat and Rock, like you talked about, really collaborating, but Nano getting his hands dirty, and now maybe even dirtier as he moves up onto Rock. This is the next team in the sights of Flat. Can anyone stand up to the squad that's been on a rampage today? Newcastle Wall will help out in that regard, keeping Rock safe against Flat, as we've got to push on the other side. Forbidden Gaming also taking a fight against Flat because, surprise, surprise, Nano's off on his own again.
Yeah, as you said, being very aggressive. Obviously, Ash is the legend to do that on. Forbidden have taken up the north side of the river right here behind the Newcastle Wall. They're kind of set up, obviously, when you've got a three-way standoff like this, it's all about trying to force the other two teams into each other. Rock's position seems like the most tenuous. They do have to move in a little bit with this zone, and they will be the first to move once it continues to go with the final circle countdown. Flat have a lot of space to themselves, a lot of the platforms to play behind. But yeah, this is going to be a tough one as these final three teams look to see who has to fight first.
I'm going to be real with you, Genome. It's not looking good for Flat. Rock's easiest push should be onto the team right ahead of them. They're already prepping an EMP, and Flat have to know this as well. There's a reason why they were focusing on that drone, and it's not just for target practice. A lot of it comes down to limiting the playmaking, and Nano taking a lot of damage there. Every little instance that you give for Rock to make a push onto Flat, it's time that Flat is risking their game. Forbidden don't have to do much. They just have to keep Flat on that side of the river.
Yeah, I mean, if you know there's three teams left, Dia, you don't really need your drone out for scouting. You should be able to use your game sense to work out where those other two teams are and what they're doing. You save your drone specifically for the EMP at the time that you need it when you are going to push. As you said, it's a prime target for the other teams in this final standoff.
Out goes the wall. And this could be it. The scouting may be done. The EMP should be coming out. Rock playing very slow around this wall, still waiting for some opening damage. Are going to get a stinger bolt thrown at them, but it doesn't connect with anyone. And Forbidden Gaming are wrapping around the back of this. You don't want to make too much of quick work with Rock, because you do risk them not doing enough damage to Flat in the meantime. That's enough damage. Deeds does more than enough damage. Forbidden Gaming now shooting Rock and Flat in the back while this all happens. Have Flat going down, and Rock now, in contrast, have taken almost no damage. Can Forbidden steal this game away from them? Out goes the Skynade. Will it connect? Peacekeeper, Skynade, Kuzme, not gonna hit either, although he does connect for limited damage. Slides up onto Deeds and takes him out with the PK. It's Kuzme! It's Forbidden Gaming! But now, with the turnaround and with Rock on high ground, it's Rock at the end of game 2 that take the win!
Huge comeback there. The crypto player for Rock. That's going to be Sauce. He clutches it up at the end. Oh, that was an exciting finish. It was really tough between those ones as well. Of course, Sauce, there was a lot of, justice for Sauce kind of stuff coming out recently after losing his position on LG to Nocturnal. And I feel like we're getting so many of these narratives lately where it's like the player who gets spurned from their previous team just like uses that to fuel them, and that passion is pushing them and their new teams to greater heights.
Yeah, we've used the word passion so often to describe what it means to succeed in Apex Legends. Maybe a little bit of that passion is wrath. Maybe just a little. We definitely saw that out of Saucer at the end of this game, and really well played game by Rock. Also, looking at this, Forbidden Gaming, they have a really good walk up, but aren't really able to make use of a good wrap, partially because Flat didn't deal quite enough damage to Rock to really force them on this big reset.
Yeah, you know how there's like in a lot of TCGs and stuff like that, DR, there's like a rage mechanic, right? It's like you take damage and it powers you up. So it's like we haven't really got one of those in Apex yet, not that I can think of, but apparently the rage mechanic was inside our esports players all along.
Yeah. That's what it seems like, especially with the way that Rock had to play so small and then expanded really intelligently with good use of cooldowns. I mean, talk about the cat wall that gets sent out. We kept waiting for the EMP that really was not the focal point of the fight, surprisingly. Instead, it was cat wall into Newcastle wall, slowly but surely encroaching on the space that previously Flat had held. Let's see how this looks in the results, however, as Rock do walk away with that big Game 1 win. Forbidden and Flat still collecting a lot of kills on the way in. 9 kills for Forbidden, 6 for Flat. Leave them with points that are none too shabby either, Gino.
Not too shabby at all. They have been certainly seeking out those kill points, and that's why they are there at the top of our leaderboard there, and at the literal top of our series leaderboard. 28 points for them. Rock with the double get up to 23, and Twisted Minds with their excellent first game sitting just behind them at 22.
Nice play from Flat to, after 2 games, still not having actually won one, still be in a position near the top of our leaderboard. That's the kind of consistency that we were looking for from the squad when we started the day. We were talking about how they had these big kill games, but they weren't able to do it all the time. Now we're seeing them still put up some pretty crazy kills, but put up the placements consistently to match that. Let's see if they can keep that going as we approach Game 3 in just a few minutes.
Hi everyone, I'm super excited to introduce to you our newest legend, Sparrow. It's been a while since we've had a recon legend, and we wanted to bring one that offered a new, unique way of tracking enemies. He's also extremely agile, which allows him to excel at traversing the environment. Let's jump into his kit. For his passive, he has double jump. This allows him to have a second jump while he's in the air. He also has a unique ability called wall launch that allows him to quickly get to the top of walls by pressing jump while climbing. For the tactical, he has the tracker dart. This can be shot out on any surface and will reveal enemies that get within sight of it. Enemies that are revealed will have a trail that can be seen through walls, and will also have a marker that shows the distance the enemy is away from you. For the ultimate, we have the Stinger Bolt. This is a large arrow that will be shot out and planted into the ground. After a short charge up, it will pulse out blasts that will deal damage and slow any enemy within its range. Sparrow will be unlocked temporarily for free at the start of the season, so everyone will get a chance to play him, and he'll be yours to keep if you can beat a set of challenges. Jump in and try Sparrow in our newest season, Prodigy. Hi everyone, I'm super excited to introduce to you our newest legend, Sparrow.
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Hi everyone, I'm super excited to introduce to you our newest and coolest legend, Graceful. Graceful, welcome back to the broadcast for game number 3. We've got 2 games of Storm Point down. Let's take a think back towards game number 2 as we prepare for our 3rd one, as it will be our last one on Storm Point. What'd you make of game number 2?
I think so far we've seen phenomenal plays from the coming down to the top 3 of the games. We've seen phenomenal plays from these. Like Rock specifically, that game, even though they walled up early, they didn't play it fast. They tried to poke as much as they could through the wall. We're still seeing the same type of things here though on the cusp, like zone 5-ish leading into zone 6, where a lot of teams are collapsing on the same side. We saw Falcons go down here, TSM here, we saw VP in the river side as well. Rock, however, holding a steady positioning throughout that late game there, closing out the game from the top 3 scenario, where they were actually out of the zone first here, but with a well-placed cat wall there to extend the duration of where they could stall for a bit, poke through a bit. EMP came out really late to secure that fight as well, and then turning and winning that 3v3 is just phenomenal.
And Rock, they may not have gotten a crazy amount of kills to get in here, but it is their end game control that's really set this team apart all split. Check it out. I mean, full health bars as Forbidden start pushing them. And Deeds has a great angle that he doesn't get forced off of for way too long. Well, we were talking about Kuzme, where we were singing the praises of that Peacekeeper. It's a lot of anchoring job from Deeds that lets Sorcerer with the P20s clutch this up for the squad. And we are seeing our Newcastles make a huge difference. There is a reason that Rock are third place overall in the league coming into today. The teams ahead of them, Twisted Minds and Falcons. Rock right up there, and it's not because they have crazy kills. In fact, looking at, yeah, Twisted Minds, Falcons, Shopify Rebellion, and NRG, they all have more kills than Rock. Rock just play for the end game so well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about playing for endgame specifically and winning, closing out games is always good, but if you don't really have those pop-off games, you're gonna need to stay consistent to get those high points. Like we saw, you know, 10k in the EMEA, winning 3 games is what you need to win. Whereas like when we look on the opposite side of the spectrum, looking at Flat, they're racking up kills. They're currently first on 28, I believe it says up there, where regardless of where they die in placement, they're racking up so many kills that it doesn't matter. So those are 2 different ways you can approach the game, and we can clearly see it work for both sides. Flat that feel kind of uncontested on edge with a lot of KP, or Rock with this solid, consistent, you know, high end game, late game playing.
Yeah, it really is for Flat a play style difference that I'm keen to keep track of, because we posed the question at the start of the day, you know, what's this going to look like for Flat? Can they be consistent? We've seen 2 really good games from Flat. Does that work 3 games in a row? Does that work when we switch maps? It's a question that we have to constantly be asking ourselves, not because they're not performing, they are, but because the question gets answered when and if they fail to perform somehow. It is a perpetual question. Speaking of questions that I do like to answer every game, though, quick talk on legends. This time, Ballistic is our most picked legend, and it's not by much. Only 11 teams have Ballistic to the 10 that are running Sparrow, perhaps foreshadowing a Sparrow ban once we get to E-District. But for right now, it'll be Ballistic, whose last game it is in match day number 8.
A lot of Sparrow enjoyers, actually. I really like to see that. I would like to give a huge shout out to the people that have been working on the character. I think he's the most well-balanced legend coming into a comp, and even ranked, to where he feels good to play, doesn't feel oppressive, and feels really solid. Overall, perfect balance in my opinion. Really happy to see him picked up that much. But yeah, typical bans though. Alter, Ash, potentially Ballistic, as you said as well, is the name of the game right now.
Yeah, and you know, I've really enjoyed the movement options that Sparrow has, because while they do feel very unique, they also feel quite fair to play against. You know, there are situations, of course, where I'm like, oh my god, this guy just keeps peeking me with a double jump, but most of the time, you know, you get used to it. You understand what his limits are, and a lot of our teams are certainly very willing to work within those limits, and clearly think that he offers a lot of strengths as well with the Stinger Bolt, because that has been a cornerstone of a lot of the game plans that we are seeing once we get to especially the mid game and the team fights that happen then.
Yeah. Outside of mid game though, looking at the zone, I have to give a huge shout out to whoever is making the zones for this week, PL for sure. Huge shout out to Variety. You know, we saw a mill, we saw that Riverside in the middle of the map, and now we see a little bit more to the southeast in Launchpad. Good variety. A lot of these teams cannot be mad about the zones, because they're, like I said, variety, and everybody has an opportunity to place good in at least one of the games. Everybody has to be happy about that. However, VP looking to take a fight very early on, as they're on the northwest side of the map right now, looking to engage on Corinthians, I believe.
Watching the kill feed as well, it does look like while the Corinthians fall, so are Flat at the same time. Corinthians and Movistar Koi both getting involved in early fights. Virtus.pro clean up the 1 kill, and that should be all she wrote for the fight, because even without Alter, we do have a lot of teams that are much better at disengaging from fights as soon as you get 1 knocked, because you've always got the opportunity to come back later if you're able to stick the res. Kings does have to survive for that to be possible though, and Virtus.pro, they may not be hard on the chase, but they're definitely moving in the same direction as the Corinthian squad.
I mean, we also saw there a new edition of Sparrow. People haven't practiced lineups just yet either, because there's so much to practice, right? Like, even if we're talking about just a legend pick, what you can practice, you know, to be a specialist on a character, like learning lineups on Sparrow for UAV, or learning how to fight properly with the Ash dashes. Now you also have to work on the fact that the meta changes so fast and weapon meta changes as well. What do you really work on? I like the fact that Aku earlier on today said that some teams might not know what they need to work on, but that's because there's so much to work on. Like even then, even if you look at teams that you might deem being perfect, that have won several LANs, that have trophies in their hands, they still have stuff to work on, as we've seen across the board, even in the likes of Falcons, Alliance, and also other teams as well.
Yeah, it's because every game is so different, and it does. Oh wow, I've not seen that tech. It does really give teams an infinite checklist of small mechanics to improve about their game, small decisions. There is so little that's replicable in a battle royale and in Apex Legends specifically. I suppose if we're looking at this, really only 2 things, 3 things are true: death, taxes, and unfortunately Corinthians being chased down.
Yeah, it is rough because like this is one of the things about the Dio that I dislike so much, is that you know when you when somebody has a flatline or a carbine or even a wingman, maybe not snipers, especially not Peter, you kind of feel like, oh, maybe I can get this evac off, right? When you hear a Devo that you know has 50 bullets on their EV, you don't pray because you know it's over and poor guy falls off.
You know you've been abandoned. That's really what it is. Bin fortunately has a crafter right here, and I think has a pretty free res. I'm gonna cheat and take a look at my minimap. Yeah, all right, we got a minimap, and if you're on Face It Watch, you got a minimap too, so you know you can always check it out. But this is looking pretty good for the Corinthians to stick a res. Now it may not be completely uncontested, but a chance to get your teammates back into the game is certainly one that I will always take, and Bin gonna stick that one right now, giving Corinthians a second chance at life. And I love the evac tower right off of that as well, just to buy some space between you and whoever might have noticed.
Yeah, and also depending on how it's placed, teammates can also land on it straight away. We'll have to see here if Kings and Juan can make it. Insta jumps for it, gets it. The second guy also gets it. Third guy also gets it. That's a clean escape and a reset. Now they're happy. They want to make sure to gear up a little bit, and I'm sure they'll maybe find some rotational loot, some scraps here and there. But having 3 people up is better than one with, you know, with nothing at all.
Launchpad zone, and actually a little further south. Is this pulling to the Falcons' hill, do you think? I mean, like I'm seeing us play for the high ground here.
Yeah, a lot of zones here. Even if it looks very, very stuffy, sometimes it even pulls back a little bit and ends on the north side of that hill, where Forbidden is currently playing underneath the bridge, I believe. Anywhere around that river, like both north side and south side, it could end. Super solid zone. Because you actually have multi-layered areas. You have underneath the bridge, you have on top of the bridge, you have in the river, as well as the compound on the hill. A lot of areas have to fight for, but we're seeing a lot of teams on the map right now. Liquid, OMiT, LG, all of them opting to maybe go for the south side. Will we see a clash between 3 teams here, as all of them are currently trying to rotate in from the southern side?
I know Liquid would like to get their mojo back, especially after last game where they were dressed down by the Falcons pretty early on over here. OMiT certainly looking for a fight themselves, and unfortunately the dressing down has yet to end. That's going to be a quick portal out by Nazul. OMiT not going to follow straight through the Wraith portal, but they are looking for a larger continuation to the fight, one that it appears Sang is unable to locate. So OMiT not going to collect the kill this time around. Liquid Alien, we're likely finding a res, although it doesn't look like they are out of the flames just yet.
I mean, I know we talk a lot about Peter and we talk a lot about Devotion, but can we get a shout out to the little Thermi Rampy? That one blasted him. He had no chance of escaping, getting crushed immediately, as OMiT now is very happy to be on that side of the map, feeling free in their backs. But it's not over just yet. There's still some teams roaming about. How long will they stay, or will they try to, you know, match up to them and keep chasing them? The longer you chase, the more sound you make. Eventually, one team might show up behind you, so you gotta make that decision kind of fast.
Twisted Mind's in a bit of trouble. Does look like there's just some long-range poking going on between a lot of our squads. Rampage about to expire with the revved up status that it's got, but OMiT have won a nice chunk of high ground to keep them safe for the moment. It may not be in the next zone, but if you can hold out squads that come in behind you, OMiT have got a pretty decent rotation down into Echo HQ and the small amount that is going to be in there. Virtus.pro taking a fight, Laser on the inside with Loose swinging in on him. Does give Virtus.pro good command of these buildings, but no knocks just yet.
I mean, they popped the ballistical kind of early, looking to engage in this, but they're getting stalled out quite well. They want to make a play with this ult still being up, but definitely tough when you're getting catwalled immediately on the inside of that door. Now they got to pyramid. They don't really want to push straight forward into the pyramid, but a good fuse ult maybe buys them some time to take some space, as Zac is wide swinging on the right side right now, seeing two players. Will he get caught out alone, or will he get help here by Lou and Slayer's chasing there? They're repositioning, and now they're getting chased down the river.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't love it. Virtus.pro risk a lot to make this transition into a building, and most loved know that they've got to make the damage stick while they can. Out goes the nade. The door will come down. Dynasty swings on the Zac Mazer, but the tracking does not connect. OMiT will be taken down while most loved take this fight. But most loved playing this calculated in pylon will end up finding a 3v3 victory of their own. Most loved, nice elimination of Virtus.pro.
Very nice elimination right there. Have to give a shout out though to, I believe it was Zac on the Sparrow, doing a nice jump there to throw off the one mag. Otherwise he would have died a lot earlier. But huge cleanup fight there by most loved. Very clean, because they took the advantage of the fact that, hey, they actually left the building. They're on low ground now. Let's chase them. Almost insta wipe them. Super solid fighting there.
I actually thought when Zac hit that wall jump that it was a huge turnaround. I thought VP were going to be able to clutch that up, and credit to most loved for staying in control of the fight, because often when you see one person go down in an unexpected scenario like that, it can throw a lot of things into chaos. Now that most loved win the fight, they come out the victors on this northwestern side, but still have to deal with teams like Leave No Witnesses, where Liquid Alienware, who just won their fight up against OMiT, now have the south side all to themselves.
They do have a team. I believe it was Board I saw down there on the southern side that they have to keep in mind. But I saw all of the arrows point in that direction. They probably know they're behind them. If they can clear out their bags, though, they're actually in a great spot to potentially get into a solid top 5 placement at bare minimum. After that, though, it'll be really hard to fight for that side, because Devastated Coast is one, like in the water, is actually where we see the zone currently, unless it pulls up. If it ends southern side, a little bit more down low, really tough spot to play in, because there's not a lot of playable areas where you're not getting pinched and shot at by pretty much everybody.
TSM maybe waiting a little bit too long to jump down to the low ground. This is a sticky spot for Duplex, and Panic, it seems like it is all the same. Flat are not going to take anything lying down, although Qzir does eventually fall. The question really is what Flat are going to do from here on, because they've been playing so split up. We noted it even in the end game of game number 2. They love playing across the map, but what happens when the dominoes start to fall?
I mean, definitely. Liquid, even there, being a little bit more cautious. Get it down, rinse and repeat right now. They got the thirst as well to the zone, making sure that, hey, we need to play here. Hopefully look forward, and also to the southern side, as they got wiped, I believe, Board in the outside zone. Very tough time there. NIP staring at them, as well as on the opposite side of the things, on the north side, Corinthians still in it after having a little bit of a shaky start after that reset.
Portal going to be used by Bin. But remember, this is a Corinthians who's on the recovery. After a difficult portion of the early game, they are playing an extremely slow version of Apex Legends just to recover. I've noticed Kraber in their hands, though, so maybe a big difference maker. TSM in a lot of trouble themselves, are going to take the fight onto Twisted Minds, and this is some pretty crazy high ground. Nice turn. I hesitate to say even turn. Nice position to just abuse on Twisted Minds.
Very good positioning there from Dupe. Taking a different angle is very important in fights. You don't want to swing the same side, so they all just have to look in one direction. Speaking of same side right now, one poor team right here. Most loved, I believe, underneath Leave No Witness is getting pummeled right now. But they're kind of safe for the moment. They have about 2 minutes to still close out this fight before they need to move further into the next zone. Because next zone closing, you can't be in the zone anymore, essentially. It hurts quite a lot. It's terrifying. You don't want to run with the zone behind you. Whereas Liquid Alienware, super good spot for the moment, but I don't think they're in the next zone. They're gonna have to make the play as well. A lot of teams right now have to make plays, as there's 14 teams still alive in zone 4.
And it is going to be a matter for those teams that are coming out of Launchpad to make their way up this hill. I know it's been a while since the last season of Stranger Things came out, but you all know what I'm talking about. It is going to get pretty crazy when we think about the amount of teams that are going to be running up that hill. TSM going to be the ones that are defending the other side, while Rock playing in Launchpad, aim for their second win, but first they need to fight against Corinthians, and that's a way to do it, Deeds.
Deeds with the huge one mag there, and also played around that queue very, very smoothly there. Can't believe he was actually still staring at the same direction as they also get the reset there. Very solid team play from them, holding hands in this corner, getting jumped at by team from the front, from team from the back, but making sure they're trying to reset. Kind of hard though, as one of them gets off of it but gets back and gets a rebound. What is this happening?
Vaxlon playing really well to just cover multiple angles of the fight. He sees the Newcastle res going on right now. You'd think Saucerer could get back, but Deeds is popping a bat right now, and Saucerer has just been re-knocked. Knockdown timer on that ticking ever lower, but Vaxlon can only watch so many angles at once. Looks like height is going to be pretty safe for them right now. Rock reset, but now they've got to run.
That's the thing though, you might have been knocking the motor over, but even Kimchi and Joe Max right there, everybody has to move with the zone, and you don't know what's ahead of you. Fusion running into Citadel and Movistar potentially. Rock right now have somebody behind them as well. It's almost running into Corinthians.
He's
Rock
going.
getting held out right now, and they are trying to do everything what they can. Vaxlon walls forward and praise.
There's no way Vaxlon lives there after committing into the zone behind two people, getting shot at by another squad. Vaxlon gambles and wins big to pick up those kills. Now, however, with the wall expanded, he does have to stabilize with the rest of Rock, and most Lug are not going to get that luxury, being shot at from above. Falcons take control of the sky. Rock moving everyone in. Deeds has got that pickup once again to grab Falcons, or rather, to grab Vaxlon back into this game. Regen not going to go off, but Deeds has no cooldowns. He's got no mobile shield. He's got no ult. Corinthians are going to go down, and I'm watching that kill feed because I think we're going to get another squad joining them very, very soon. Rock are on their last legs.
Hal has been doing a ton of damage here. We also see Waltz hit some nice bow shots as Hal is walking up right now to clean up this fight, as Movistar's already got eliminated. Now Hal feeling very comfortable, looking to see if he can get more frags as the ult gets popped as well. I'm not too sure here. The Kraber shot hits though with the flick, looking to do damage to LG, but can't really find anything except the crack.
Zero immediately is going to hit the bat, and Hal does not have a care in the world. Pushes up on his own, might I add, to help with Waltzy on that kill. The follow-up from Falcons is deadly, but Rock, the recovery might be equally so. Vaxlon starts closing the gap. Falcons turn around immediately. This is the biggest threat to Falcons. It is Falcons versus Rock, number one from the match versus number one from the open. And Rock, they don't even make it close. They don't even touch Falcons. Getting taken down before they even close the gap. Falcons still on high ground with TSM and Forbidden.
I mean, phenomenal play by Falcons. They're holding that space properly, making sure that nobody is coming to fight them, and then they even took a fight onto LG to guarantee that spot. However, they're still not entirely safe. They have a playable area even underneath the platform that they were standing on, but Liquid Alienware in a spot to where they could actually punish people, because they are playing several spots right now, all the way on the southern side and middle of the pack. Falcons, they're looking to fight for high ground, I believe. As they have a Kraber, people probably don't want to take a duel, as other teams are starting to wall further south now.
We get to play that fun game though, the counting game. How many bullets do you have left? Make it 3 right now as one, I believe, connects through the window, but with Hal down, those bullets have to translate into impact, and that's a big one. 2 more bullets left for Zero, while both of his teammates are on 25 HP. Is this really going to work? Waltzy burns down, but Hal's gonna get this res. Falcons essentially unpushable as long as Zero is holding this out for them.
I mean, Forbidden has to have the awareness here. They're hearing downs and rests above them. They have to make a play. As right now, they are making a play with the TP or a kidnap as they get a redown on Hal. No, a down on Hal and a Thirst. That's a great start for them to retake that height. But an IP, will they let it happen for free? No.
Oh,
they do not indeed. It is Thirst and Waltzy for them. Right now comes down to Zero as he dies to Forbidden. Now went from a solid spot to a great spot now.
Yeah, that was pretty inhumane, if I'm honest with you. NIP and Forbidden Gaming collaborating on that just made it an unwinnable position for the Falcons, as much as they tried to reset behind this singular pill. But now it's a question of who walks away with the win, who's got the winning position. And for my money, NIP are looking pretty good right now. I mean, height is solid, but is there an argument for TSM to be had?
Yeah, TSM could win this. It all depends on how far they can push Forbidden into the opposite direction. But if they get pushed by north or south, the other side will be open up for a 3P, which will be worst case scenario. But if they can hold out the northern side first, I think that they're in a really solid spot, because Forbidden is in a tough spot. They need to drop down lower. They're getting shot by everybody right now, as Kuzme gets down first. McLovin looking with the bow, having a hard time hitting shots, but doesn't matter. Dupe on TSM collaborates with that, as well as now they're getting shot at by everybody. TSM looking in a solid spot right now.
Yeah, the nice thing is that when a wall goes that wrong, you don't really have to hit your bow shots. You just get to watch the team go down. 30-30 should be a little bit easier for Vayne, but Ninjas in Pajamas know that they've really just got to defend this high ground and not accidentally fall off it. Liquid Alienware right underneath them. A big threat to Ninjas in Pajamas, who sure would like to force TSM and Team Liquid to fight, but I don't think they're going to get that opportunity. Will they even get the chance to touch the ground? Because right now, the zone's closing, and I'll be honest, I don't see Ninjas in Pajamas making it out of here.
TSM looking in the best spot right now. They just have to make sure they can hold out his side, as right now NIP drops down on Liquid, trying to close out the game.
Nice job by Dupe, hitting the flank, making this clean for TSM. This is cold, calculated, surgical, and precise. TSM do not give Liquid Alienware or Ninjas in Pajamas a fighting chance at game number 3.
It's a tough game. Like, I think I would need to look at the scores, because in general NIP was in a great spot to convert off of KP, but closing out that game is almost impossible. You have to drop into one of the two teams regardless of what you do, whether you drop on far forward and you get pinched, or you drop down and you get pinched. It's just a tough scenario. However, closing out that game was very stellar and disciplined, because they just pushed out the north side, had a whole side for free, and just decided to join the fray.
Yeah, what I really appreciated was, you know, when we look at the spot for Ninjas in Pajamas, their win condition really is making the spot that Liquid Alienware had unplayable. As soon as Liquid Alienware are there, that's tough bananas. I'm sorry. We'll take a look at how this still turned out, because like you talked about, kill participation for Ninjas in Pajamas was their key to victory, and they got a pretty nice amount of it. 8 kills for this match, plus the second place, turns into a game that is really not all that bad, even though you're not able to convert.
Yeah, 8 kills is solid. TSM on 11 is great, but they did come from the northern side, so they had to fight their way through quite a lot. We saw that earlier on as well by that Dupe off angle was really good. Liquid Alienware, however, had it on the opposite side of the things, from the southern side, holding out teams and then not really converting to any kills. But regardless, 23, 17, 14, you're incredibly happy with that. That's more than above the, you know, the 6-point average we always talk about for the top 10, whereas now so many points. You're very happy with that. Kinda even though.
Liquid Alienware do get a good amount of momentum back after this game as well. Momentum that they lost being shut down early in game 2. Flat tied with Liquid Alienware right now for second, and even looking just below that at TSM, the top side of the leaderboard is extremely tight. Genome, we have got a very tight race for the top, with, you know, even TSM being only 3 points from that, especially on Storm Point. I have to say, I don't really expect things to be as competitive, where you can easily run away with games consistently on a map like this.
Yeah, if a team, you know, manages to stack up a couple of, you know, wins in a row, or just good performances in a row, we can see that if they prioritize this particular map in the POI draft, you know, maybe that happens. That said, this is America's, and it does tend to be a little bit closer, you know, running from top to bottom in terms of skill level, in terms of the depth of skill in this region. So to that extent, you know, maybe we can expect to see this go the distance and actually get a nice, tight, exciting finish to this race.
I mean, it's been very exciting so far, and Genome, I know you saw it because you were there with me this morning. I was speaking to you. But for those of you who may have missed some of the excitement on the ALGS earlier, let's talk about what you might have missed from the Apex Legends Global Series. Some of this is going to be from the week leading up. But what I want to talk about is the match day that just happened over in EMEA, where 10K came alive. This was a big week for 10K, as the team made up of Kashera and Nasky with post-kill ended up having their first week of play together, with Nasky having just been dropped from Ronin, and Kashera naturally coming off the back of having picked up G-Dolphin, then turned things around, going, maybe I'm going to retire, maybe I'm not. I don't know exactly how I'm going to succeed in this meta, but Nasky was the last prayer, the last chance for this team, and 10K worked with him marvelously. I know we're talking about Kashera and Nasky post-kill as well. Huge credit for sticking with these guys as the anchor throughout so many changes and so many swaps in leadership and disagreements on it. This was the day where all of that paid off. All of their hard work and effort became a masterclass in zone play and end game execution. Graceful, this was an incredibly dominant day by 10K.
It was an incredible day, honestly. I think everybody kind of in their hearts wanted to believe that things happen, and I love the fact that he also said, you know, they're manifesting it one step by one step, and that's important to do, because you can't just, you know, small goals is how you actually make it, compared to just having, you know, the big haymaker. But outside of a haymaker, one thing I really want to talk about now is actually the ballistic and altar play that we have seen throughout not only the entirety of Pro League, but everybody at home who's been playing ranked. Are you not tired of getting ran down by ballistic? And then even if you don't get ran down and you somehow, you know, mop a team, maybe get 2 knocks, alter TPs out of it, now the developers and everybody who creates the game have reeled it back a little bit. You know, we've seen the changes of ballistic. Now his whistle overheat damage is reduced. Now you don't really get that amp up timer. Now with the ultimate, you don't get the refresh timer, which is a great thing to reel in that aggressiveness a little bit. We see that from, you know, 30 damage to 15. But on the opposite side of things, of reeling back the aggressiveness, alter, however, you can aggress a little bit more on her. Haven't you always been annoyed that 2 people, you down 2 people, you crack the third, they all TP out and they somehow get the reset before you get there? Now it goes from 8 seconds to 6 seconds before you can trail them in that TP. Hopefully, in my opinion, I don't think that might be enough to really establish on them. Even if you get 2 knocks, they could still get the reset, but it's a step in the right directions. Seeing these small frequent changes is exactly what Apex needs, because we want these changes frequently, because when the game is in one same meta for too long, it feels stale. When we see small changes like this, it really shows that the developers and everybody who works for Apex cares about the game, and we all care about each other. And I hope that, you know, we see more metas thriving, because I think in EMEA we saw so many team comps, and now here we see still a wide variety of team comps. I'm so happy with it.
Well, I'm gonna have a look at we've had a great little trend on Twitter and on other social media recently about, like, where did you get your big break? Where was the start of your story in esports, or whatever field it is? But of course, we're going to be looking at our pro players and how it all started for them. Let's talk about Unlucky. First up, we see his tweet here where you see HUSS. He gets the call up from the big dog of EMEA, and you can see he responds immediately. He's been waiting for this tweet. Within a minute, he is there to get that one. We also got how the story of how one of the most impressive rosters in all of Apex got started, and this is Jordan and Hal talking, and also thinking about picking up Albraleli at the same time. Obviously, before they went through some changes and got Verholston and whatnot, this was the OG TSM roster that won trophies and hung medals around their neck. We also have Rambo. And his big break, you might remember, was as a super sub. Here he is getting a message from G-Sound saying, Mandy has COVID, we need you to get in here immediately. Raven, Nasky, this was a sick team up, if you remember them playing at Rally. We've got one last one to go through as well. That's going to be Albraleli's start and you can see him here talking to Thump. And it's so cool to just get this kind of blast from the past from some of our biggest players that are still here to this day, and 5-6 years later even, you know, this is how their epic Apex esports careers were spawned.
You know, Genome, I'm really touched by seeing a lot of the beginnings of some of our biggest Apex Legends players all put out on social media. It's wonderful, it's heartwarming, but I actually have a bone to pick with one of our literally biggest players. Keon, one of the tallest folks in the ALGS, has put out a tweet that I would like to say I deem absolutely unacceptable. Don't put this on my timeline. This, I understand where it comes from, if I'm honest with you. Conduit is fun. Graceful, you know, I was playing a little bit of Conduit. I'm enjoying myself. But we can't just be photoshopping images irresponsibly and then putting them on Twitter where I have to see, like, I open my Twitter and all of a sudden this is there, and it's a really upsetting and unsafe environment that I feel like I'm living in.
Unsafe environment. I would have to say though, that's a pretty good edited photo.
It is a pretty good edit. It is like, for as much hate as I'm giving it, you can at least tell they really worked hard on making this as uncanny valley as possible, Genome.
Yeah, they kind of did it, didn't they? It's almost seamless. If you'd never played Apex Legends before, maybe you'd believe that was a real legend.
You know what? One of the just to touch on the start of what you might have missed as well, to get things a little more serious and what we're talking about here in Apex. Keon, don't tweet like that again. Was the 10K story. We talked about that at the beginning. EMEA, yes, was a blast. Real quick as well. While all this was happening, while 10K were putting up a historic showing, Na'Vi also qualified for the midseason playoffs. So that sort of flew under the radar of the craziness that happened this morning, but it was a really big milestone when setting the stage for international competition in the ALGS. Now, we've got a pretty big change to make, guys. The Storm Point, now it's going to be E-District. So Graceful, I'm going to kidnap you once again, although I guess... Oh no, Wraith isn't banned. I can kidnap you. It's Ballistic that's banned as we move on to E-District. So you and I are going to be going through E-District together. Given that we've gotten from EMEA 2 now, I do want to quickly illustrate, all the same legends are banned, weirdly enough.
I mean, I think it's a read on the meta where people really feel that it helps quite a lot with the legend picks. You know, it helps with aggressiveness if you're lacking it. That's kind of the name of the game right now. But E-District, really solid. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. We saw some good end games there earlier. It does shift the focus out of Storm Point from being, I would say, really, really heavily macro reliant in a big what POIs are we going to move through sort of way, what cardinal direction are we approaching from, to E-District's macro focus being really, how are we going to approach walking down this street? We need to get from point A to point B. What are the buildings we can use for cover there? What sorts of angles can we look for team fights in a way that feels much more concentrated than it does on Storm Point with this wide sweeping map. E-District is deceptively big, but it also lets you play extraordinarily small and be safe as long as you are playing a coordinated game, as long as you are all on the same page, and that is the biggest shift. Taking a look at some of the POIs that we've got right smack dab in the middle, we've got Fusion over at Energy Bank, which is always going to be a pivotal POI with so much access to the space around it, Graceful.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that we talked about before is that look at the map. How many chokes can you count on the map right now? There's so many areas where you never really get locked down on this map, where teams have a break. Regardless if you get ambushed or if you get pinched, you kind of almost always have a routing you could go. So that will save a lot of teams' macro, because there's so many playable areas, there's so many options to take, there's so many tunnels to do. One thing I am still very interested in seeing, though, is flat. This is the map to excel at, to where you can actually pick and take fights on edge, because it typically is a lot more isolated. So will they have the same, like you said, will they have the same presence on this map as they did in the previous map, or will we see the likes of Rock, you know, as we saw, and also TSM there at the end, who plays a little bit more traditional Apex, so to say?
Yeah, traditional is a good word for it. TSM operating out of the south side of zone. I always love to talk about this area of the map as being the place where you can look for some of the earliest action. TSM getting Old Town, LG getting Humbert Labs. If I'm honest with you, neither of these teams reek of aggression to me, but a man can dream, Graceful. A man can dream.
Yeah, most definitely. I think though that anybody, like we said before, nobody can dispute that NA region has the... There are teams from every region, and I will almost say every country that we probably don't even know of, you know? It happens in all the titles all the time, where there's teams that are capable of standing toe-to-toe with the NA team. So when we're talking about the raw amount of skill and in the highest amount, NA region is by far it. However, what that also does entail is that we don't see as much top heaviness as we can see across the board right now. We see 9 teams or 8 or more on 20 points and above, where like normally on the EMEA we saw 2 teams dominating. Speaking of dominating right now, Sang opens up the fight on Not Pain as they OMiT is looking to hunt.
Oh yeah, baby, it's a Mirage. On Ghost, I think is going to manage to grab this for OMiT, and it is just another knock on CIMJMX, who now are down to just 1. So OMiT should take full control of this area of the map. Not going to be a bad deal for them, as Straight Market does have some nice loot, and importantly, some better scans that you can grab, especially when you are one of the only teams in the world to be playing Seer right now. Sparrow's not banned, bro. Like...
I mean, they might have been cooking something up, honestly. I don't think, like, nobody who plays with the Seer is gonna complain. It's just like one of those things where if not a lot of people are doing it, then they don't end up doing it. It's kind of the same as Gibby. You like playing Gibby, Diaz. Like, nobody hates having a Gibby on your team. It's just that you don't see that many of them. Maybe they're cooking something.
That's true. That's true. Now that I see myself in OMiT as you've opened my eyes, I see it. I see it. I can be pretty happy with this. Joe Max not happy at all. Still on the run, in fact, and may not even get the team back into the game, as I think he's being run up on by Sang. Somehow Louis just knows. Louis just knows, bro. Flat aren't gonna let this happen. CIMJMX will be taken down very quickly, and immediately we've got 2 ults used on this building as well, making me wonder what on earth Flat are cooking up next. Does seem they found an isolated member. Louis is being angled out. I'm not sure if he knows it just yet, but you can see the shots off to the side with OMiT taking yet another fight. Cody's going to be run up on, and Flat slowly but surely are just taking space away from OMiT. No playable area when you've got a team like Flat running at you.
I mean, they're running at everybody. Like, we saw OMiT show presence first, but Flat says, no, we're the ones. You forgot about us on Stormpoint? We're gonna do it here as well. Huge spray there, 108. That was clean spray. But can they chase him down? I believe they should be able to, but we'll see if they let go of the gas and go for a little bit more rotational loop. We already see all the 3 members collapsing as they actually...
Oh,
they missed him, did they not?
I think they did. Qzier is lost now. He's got no idea. I wonder if Nano is going to spot this. Somebody's got to check this.
No way the third guy checks the corner. No way the third guy checks the corner. Oh, he ran a little bit early, maybe? No? Did he make it?
He's good.
Oh, they heard him. Yeah, they heard him. He ran too early.
Understandable. Understandable. That's rough. Fortunately for OMiT, it's not the last member standing. They've still got 1 out there. So OMiT, keep hope alive. And Flat, continue exactly what we know Flat for, which is just this reckless abandon with which they run at people. And I may have spoken a little too soon. OMiT, hope is dead. Hope is so dead. Virtus.pro took him out. It's Jover till at least the next game.
Yeah, definitely. We did see some early action, but now as we also shift with the maps, zone going southeast, I believe I saw a bunch of, yes, southeast. How many teams are already in the zone? A couple of teams are still on edge, but we saw the difference between the regions. A lot of teams here are opting for playable area, even on this map. That leaves it so that more of the playable areas late game is taken, so you can't do micro adjustments later on depending on where their zone pulls. But that also makes it so that the teams that come in later, this is the crazy part, the more teams move early, the stronger the edge is. Obviously the more teams on edge, the stronger the zone team is, because now you have free reign from the zone holding teams out. So it's really interesting to see how that shift of gameplay happens as Flat is also thinning out the herd on the edges. Makes it like incredibly chaotic, but it's also fun to see. So as long as we can keep the action rolling, honestly, I'm very happy about it.
You know, it's exactly the same thing that I initially learned with what I'll lovingly call the caustic conundrum back in the earlier days of the ALGS. When nobody is running caustic, one caustic was incredibly good. But when everybody was running caustic, all of a sudden, you know, people are just walking through your gas and it's like, wait, I mean, I have no effect. What's happening? Same thing with almost everything in Apex Legends. The more people are doing something, the less individually powerful it is, which is why it's so impressive when we see these metas develop, when we see legends like Ashe really rise to the forefront, because it's incredibly powerful, so much so that you wouldn't want to give it up to do something different.
Yeah, most definitely. That's kind of how it goes. I mean, we remember back the GB Caustic meta, everybody had to run it, because if not, that Caustic was running through teams. And right here with the aggressiveness as well, we also saw it with, you know, with Seer when he was really strong, as teams are pioneering them now, standing above everybody, head and shoulders with the fighting potential, and nobody could fight back because they were playing Watson back then, very defensive team comps, right? So yeah, people are learning from each other and adapting quicker at any pace that we've ever seen in all the seasons. But I'm very happy to see that, because that also means the skill level goes up across the board, and that's why it becomes so much more even in fights. With the, you know, people shifting over to roller when that became a thing as well, and also weapons being a little bit more leeway in whiffing, like let's just say Devotion and P20 and Double Mozambique. Skill levels across the board has actually gotten more tighter between the team gap, but the overall skill ceiling has increased.
And so much so, as the lifespan of the game goes on, you are going to see a lot of people eke out every last advantage that they can. Right now, Corinthians, much like their last game, however, are not in the business of eking out advantages, instead of just trying to stay alive. It's again Bin that is the last member standing, and again with a chance to craft, but it's a difficult game for the Corinthians, that's to be sure. VP landing right on top of Flat. You know what that means, Flat. It's time to go. They are always running straight at the squads in front of them. Virtus.pro do lay down the Watson ult inside, but Zach gets instantly swung on, takes down Nano in the 1v1, but it simply doesn't matter. The team is evaporated around him, and Flat make quick work of Virtus.pro.
Insta aggression, insta proactivity. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Flat showing no signs of stopping, but Board stepping up on them. However, they're getting shot across the board by a Peter right now, so they're gonna decide to disengage to make sure they don't fall down. Good effort though, but Flat taking out VP that quick is incredible. However, new challenger shows up.
This actually is a huge rematch. Flat took out Falcons really early in game number 1. Now Falcons have shown up just as Flat expend all of their ultimates. Falcons should have control of this, and yet I'm watching every time they peek. Their shields get shredded. They're playing with less and less space. Look out for Flat, who can and will encroach, take a lot of pain and direct it towards you. Out go the nades. Falcons again are forced not just into the staircase, but into the portal. They don't even want to coexist with Flat. How much does that say that a team that won our most recent LAN, that is touted as being one of the best teams in the world, doesn't want to exist in the same 25-meter radius as Flat?
The only thing that was stopping Flat right there is the fact that they probably used all of their util and ultimates in the previous fight. Otherwise, they would have sent it, I'm pretty sure. Falcons recognizing that, hey, this team is showing presence and they're gonna make a play if we stay here. Opts to go out a little bit more towards the edges, because they have so much playable area from their past DP. A little bit scary because teams could have potentially pulled up, but it ends up working out in their favor as the zone currently is closing. We see the zone pulling more towards the southeast. Hubert Labs as well. Very common zone, I would say here. Maybe more towards the center side of the bridge side. Also inside Hubert Labs, but like to play the zone regardless. A lot of playable area.
Quick touch up on the weapon meta. I think that was a triple take that was left behind by the Falcons, choosing to run the 30-30 instead of the triple take. Not a bad decision. I'm not even hating on it. I'm just noting that that happened, because when care package weapons are left behind, it's an exception to the rule.
The thing is though, how do you feel when you have a gold Peter and you see a triple take? How do you feel when, in this case, they wouldn't really fit the same category, but like if you had a devotion fully stacked for a triple take, a lot of the times is that it's the how stacked you are really depends on what you leave, but some weapons typically never get left behind. You know, the likes of Kraber as an example is a weapon that you always pick because just the presence, like even if you literally shoot the Kraber up in the sky, that will put presence on your team and people don't want to peek you anymore a lot of the time. Some people don't care, but like a lot of the teams are like, okay, they have a Kraber, be careful, right?
That's true. It is, I'll admit, hardly ever something that I calculate into my own games. And I could see how different squads might start reacting to the additional focus that a care package weapon can bring you. Real quick, Falcons made a great recovery there. I know that that's going to go largely unappreciated just because it doesn't have a major impact on the game from the point of view of like, oh, who's going to win this? But if Falcons lost Waltzy there, who's their Newcastle, they have a much harder time. The fact that they were able to very quickly land, pick it back up, reset, and ward off the TSM engagement that was being thrown their way, soft engage. So that's some pretty nice calculated play that I don't want to go underappreciated.
Yeah, and I respect that. A lot of the times, like these teams, it's very hard to look in depth at teams specifically because so much is happening around the map at all times. We can't catch all the actions, and the only thing sometimes people have to see is either a clip if they're lucky, or just a leaderboard where they see zero, like where they see donuts or where they see low placement. There's so much more happening to the screen that we sometimes miss. That is hard, but nonetheless very impressive. When you have good macro decisions, when you have all of this, you typically don't see that. What you see is the fact that you lost a 3v3 and you went out early. But Falcons right there showing very good pacing there to readjust and reposition to now be in a spot to where they actually have an even fight into another 3v3 that they're probably more comfortable taking. Even though I'm not saying TSM is weaker than Flat, they're definitely not as Pepega as Flat, I would say.
Yeah, it's true. TSM might not be weaker, but you're more comfortable taking a fight up against them because, you know, they play like human beings, you know. they play as you would expect. It's going to be an interesting one. I think Al, does manage to call this. Another triple take. That one not going to be left behind.
I mean, you see Gold Deep, you see Gold Peter, you see everything there. That's what else could you want there? How much should they have? They have a red armor as well. They are more than happy in a super spot here. Twisted Minds looking stacked up as he's dropping and going back for more. Maybe.
Ooh, I like it. If he's able to pull it off, there was a gold Devo in that bin.
Yeah, he's waiting for a fade, 100%.
Huge difference. I think he's going to be able to get it. We'll check back in with the Twisted Minds squad a little bit later on, see what kind of loot they're running. Zero, charge rifle directly into the mouth. Yummy laser. He's going to have to expend a bat in order to prepare for the next push, prepare for the next rotation. Not really sure exactly how Falcons want to approach this. A portal, a wall, both available to them, but decisions are going to have to be made and pretty darn quickly, as the next ring does not allow a lot of time for indecision on the hands of Falcons.
Yeah, Rock here though on the other side of the map, looking to engage forward, immediately grapples a little bit forward, shows presence here as they're playing Newcastle, Path, and Crypto. They're actually very versatile. They have fast movement with the zip lines, they can aggress with the EMP, and they can also stall and maybe make a space playable for themselves with the Newcastle. Very versatile. One might argue it doesn't super excel at maybe the aggressive part, but if you play that, it's a very stable balanced comp in my opinion.
And the nice thing about it is that it's not going to have to change next game if they don't want it to. Wraith is the most played legend in game number 4, which gives Rock the chance to run it back if they're able to survive this particular rotation, and it is not looking good right now. Cooked alive by the motherload. Deeds does manage to hit the ground, does manage to hit the res. That's not real. That's not real. Oh, the Stinger Bolt is juicy. It does not connect for the knock, but Umi knows how to finish the job. Jumping right on down, finishing the fight for board.
I think if they maybe made that zip play immediately instead of waiting those extra 10 seconds, letting the team engage on them could have been the make or break moment, but they fall early, and that's just how it goes sometimes. Still, 14 teams left alive as Zone 5 currently counting down for closing.
Nice damage out of Nocturnal. Still plenty of ammo in this Devo as well. Makes me wonder about the 30-30, which at this range could also be finding a couple of kills for LG. Nocturnal is playing basically single-handedly on this high ground, just reserving a lot of this space and showing presence for the side of LG. Almost finding a kill for the side of LG as Alberlele is going to fall in the feed. That's Dynasty to manage to take him down. 14 squads left, but the fact that Twisted Minds are even on the ropes or close to it is crazy to me. Right below LG, all this is happening. Twisted Minds recover on the low ground. LG holding a lot of space, but quite separately for the moment.
Yeah, it'll be scary for LG because they actually are not in the zone and they have to fight or work for something. There's 3 teams beneath them and 3-4 teams in front of them. They're gonna have to make a decision to do a play because at this point they're just gonna get held out by absolutely everybody.
MJ's gonna stick that res board, play slow. This ring though is gonna cause a lot of problems. Yeah, this is not easy for anyone. LG find a beam on a zip line really far above them. Liquid Alienware took this all the way to the balloon, and now we're jumping onto Ninjas in Pajamas. This is the most unexpected play of the century, and it does not go their way. What a gamble to come up empty-handed, but Liquid Alienware, you know what? They tried, they failed. You know, they haven't failed. They've just found one more way that doesn't work, and LG think they've got the same way. They land on the high ground, immediately wall and Newcastle wall, double profit. LG stick the landing where Liquid Alienware did not.
How many teams are gonna dive bomb that poor roof? But Twisted Minds still in a solid spot here. We saw them decked out. We see the Golden Devo. We see the Peter. We see the TT. All of them are looking right now to make plays on the team in front of them, but everybody feeling kind of safe. Will they push here with red into double purple as we see a TP potentially getting plays? Nades are getting out. It's gonna be a rough spot here as well. Regardless, they're getting shot from the roof as well.
They're thinking about it. I mean, I'd TP sooner rather than later, and out goes Alberlele looking for it. Fishes for the kidnap, doesn't connect with it, and has to go back to a shattered Newcastle wall. The rest of the team, they've moved on. They're not even there anymore. Alberlele knows that he's in a terrible spot, but Crook's got the off angle with the Devotion, has received a little bit more ammo from enemy, but we are down to basically 1 gold Devo for the squad because they've got no ammunition to work it on both sides. Alberlele gonna take the portal once again, go down immediately to Forbidden Gaming and get picked up right back by Crook. It's a matter of time, it looks like, for Twisted Minds. Extremely difficult, maybe even untenable spot.
I mean, do you play for the KP and placement here, or do you actually play to make it into the next zone? Twisted Minds are gonna have to make a decision just about now. Will they fight forward? Will they fight? Will they try to get past? As another team right now, Citadel is looking to fight Forbidden for them. Twisted Minds are gonna get the jump on absolutely everybody. Can they make sure to stay safe? No, Alb goes down from the side. A reset is trying to happen, but utility is getting used.
I think he might have it. I think he does get back up. Twisted Minds are still somehow alive, but Graceful, there is no next zone. There is no waiting it out. This is the last zone. We started it with 13 teams. We're already down to 11. By the end of this, we will be left with just 1, and Falcons make their argument for it. Laying down the Newcastle wall. TSM pushing on them with the counter slam. Hal bites the dust immediately, and the Falcons go down. Ninjas and Pajamas get shot on the side to fall themselves, and it's just Vayne emerging from the void that gets executed by Duplex summarily. TSM are down to a duo. I'm not even sure they survive the night as Duplex is going to fall. Corinthians on the high ground may have the best bet and are starting to take chunks out of Fusion. This could be a Corinthians game after yet another recovery.
Could definitely be it as they're looking out behind them right now. Bin goes for the fade. Actually gets the aggro taken off.
Bin's got the swap.
Armor swap.
Bin doesn't get the swap. He's down.
Get the armor swap. As Kings jumps up on the... Oh my god.
Kings may have this. 4 squads left. Corinthians need to avoid a lot of focus. Movistar Koi jump out here, but no, Corinthians will go down, and it's Movistar Koi that have the chance to take down Fusion. Jelly jumps into the zone to do it. Last 2 squads alive, and it's Most Loved on the inside and Movistar Koi on the outside. There is nothing for Most Loved to do. It is Movistar Koi who wipe the outside and who take the win in game number 4.
I mean, that is I will say most of the action pack happened before that last 2 teams alive. There was so many teams. I think we saw 13 teams final zone closing. That was absolutely crazy, and I loved every second of it. But getting out to that where you're not able to get into the last fight when it comes. You're happy with the second place, don't get me wrong, probably a little bit of KP2, but not being able to even fight must feel a little bit sad for them.
It's true, although on the other side of this is Movistar Koi. It's really funny. I even felt it talking about the game as it was happening. The tension as we go 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, wait. We won. That's that's it. There's nobody else out here. We'll take a look at what this means for Movistar Koi and the overall leaderboards as they now collect 20 points with the 8 that they managed to grab from kills during that game. Most loved second place is going to feel really good for them, especially because they did not get a lot of kills on the way in, Graceful.
Yeah, most definitely. I think kind of outside of Movistar as well, very kind of evenly spread across the board from second to maybe not 10th, but 9th, I would say. Very even lobby, very hard to play as well. A lot of playable areas, but as we saw as well, maybe the likes of Twisted Minds got pinched between like 4 different teams shooting him, at least 3. However, top 3 for the match though, as we saw the last final ending between Movistars and Most Loved dying to the zone. Fusion got a couple of kills as well. Nobody's sad with 11 points.
Kimchi showing up big in the damage, doubling anyone else on the team. That's my boy Kimchi. Forbidden, 35 points, has them in the lead. Just kidding. Flat are tied with them as we head out of game 4. With 2 games left, the max score is 35 right now. And Ninjas in Pajamas have 34. It is extraordinarily close, and while I thought E-District might have broken us out of that, E-District seems to just be pushing even more teams to the limit when it comes to how many singular points they can eke out of each game. The leaderboards are close, the games are close, but somebody's got to win it. Somebody's got to be walking away with that big 25 points in the overall leaderboards. We'll find out who it is, or rather, we'll take one step closer after the break.
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
As we head into match 5 here in Americas, it is one of the most tightly contested, hotly contested series we've ever seen, frankly, here in the ALGS, Graceful. It's crazy to think we've got 2 teams on 35 and a bunch going down to almost halfway through the lobby. And there's just a stone's throw between all of them.
I'm so happy with how today's been. Seeing from EMEA as well is that from EMEA we had kind of the hot popcorn moment where you're sharing for teams specifically, or for, you know, the drama that's happening, the juice that everybody likes. Whereas here it's the tension between the closeness between the teams. Nobody is super excelling. It's close between everybody. Anybody can make it, and it's so fun because you have a little bit of everything. And hey, man, really good day of Apex for anybody who missed it. Come back and watch everything.
No doubt whatsoever. Here's a final circle from that final, the last game we had here. Seen a nice little hop, skip, and a jump from Niazel as Team Liquid try to slam this position and fail, and then we see LG do what they could not. We see the other teams go here, a little bit of a fast forward. And it was really the interesting architecture of Humbert Labs as you see that dome spin around. And you see the last couple of teams just trying to get through here. And eventually it actually came down to a nice clutch up on the outside from Corinthians, but then we had the one team on the inside who couldn't actually skirt past the edge when it came down to the last two. So Movistar, Koi, you can see them just staring down this last team. The dome, it takes about I think it's a minute 30 to go the whole way around. So if you're waiting from sort of one end of it where it's open to the next end, it's about 45 seconds.
It's definitely rough in that regards because, you know, it's so slow. When the zone is that fast and it's, you know, dead to the last zone, it does so much damage, you're terrified. However, you had some legends that could make plays from that positioning regardless. With Wraith, with the potential of Wraith, Wraith is now banned on the next match as people were opting immediately for that. You know, we saw the typical 3 bans we normally see across most regions, where, you know, it might be a little bit different in APAC where people might be opting for Crypto or something else. Ballistic, Ash, Alter, and now also Wraith. We talked about this in EMEA. Some teams got affected pretty harshly from this. Will that happen in NA as well? Or will we still see the likes of some team comps? Like we saw a little bit of the mystery pick with the Pathfinder, Crypto, and Newcastle. Will they excel now because they haven't been affected? Or will teams that are not crushing but leading a little bit hard on these specific 4-3 team comps have to adjust now?
Yeah, well, the fact that we saw, you know, I think it was like 14 plus team comps in some of our games in EMEA, and it's down to like 8 or 9 in Americas, just shows you how much, you know, was it you that called them meta slaves before, Graceful? It's, yeah, interesting to see the differences between the regions here.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a trait thing where, you know, on EMEA it happens to, oh, what Alliance plays, a lot of people play. On NA it might be what Falcons plays, and people tend to learn from each other. That's a great thing, I think, but it's also good for some teams to innovate, you know. I'm not too sure about being innovative on bringing out the Mirage a lot, or, you know, maybe Mad Maggie in specific areas, but innovative nonetheless. Being creative and trying stuff is always a good thing. And speaking of trying stuff, Flat is gonna have to play this game a little bit differently because the zone actually ends on them. This is a team that we've seen so far play hyper aggressively on edge, looking to take teams out. But if too many teams move in early, which we've seen been the trend so far leading up to game number 5 right now, they might not be able to take those fights that they want to, because as teams are rotating in with the macro, they're gonna get caught in 3-piece and 4-piece potentially. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? I mean, how to Flat play this out? We know what they like to do as an edge team, but Graceful, what are they going to do when everyone is just right on top of them straight from the start? That's the thing I like to say about a lot of the teams. I think you have to be versatile to, yes, you like to be edge and you like to fight and you know how to play that. They obviously know how to play that. They're currently second. They need to be able to close the games out that are, in quotes, for a lot of teams deemed free, where they end on top of them. They should guarantee top 3. Can they do that? Because if they can do that, that means they're a really consistent, strong team, regardless of any zones. Because if you can close out both zone teams on top of you and edge teams, edge zones that are far away from you, you're in a great spot to be consistent across the board.
The enemy's far off.
Absolutely. And I remember seeing teams who was so keen to play edge. They just couldn't play any other way, and they'd get a zone on top of them, and they'd run away from it. It might be Aurora, honestly, that I'm thinking of back at some previous lands, and you know, they'd get a zone like this. Let's just say they were flat, you know, landing in Blossom Drive and then going somewhere else, and they'd straight up rotate to Boardwalk and say, nah, we're gonna go look for kills. We're not comfortable playing if we don't ever want to take a fight if someone has better armors than we do.
I mean, I had the opportunity to actually play in a tournament with both OJ and 9imps, where they exactly what you said is like, it's a comment I heard from 9imps. If they said, we have shit armor, we will die if we stay here. I would rather go out and farm either kills or more equipment to where we are strong, because we are confident in taking fights when we are geared. When they're not geared, you know, they feel like it could swing either way, which I agree with as well. If you're on white armors or if you're on blue armors, it's not really that. I'm not gonna say it's, of course it's still up to skill, but when you have purple versus purple, there's a lot more skill gap potential right there.
I feel like it depends a little bit sometimes on... There's so many factors. I mean, what's the meta? If you've got alters and cryptos and all this sort of stuff, I feel like that can be make a huge difference, maybe even a bigger difference than what kind of armors you're wearing. But at the same time, if you're in a good spot in zone, you can leverage that sometimes, and that can be worth more than 25 or 50 or 75, you know, HP on your team overall.
I feel like it mainly depends on, like, let's just take this as an example, right? In this meta, if you're on triple white, one Peter headshot can knock you down. It doesn't matter how good you are at fighting or not, you still get instant knockdown, right? There's not, like, no amount of raw mechanical skill will cover the fact that one Peter shot takes you out. And now when we're talking about if you're white armor in the middle of the zone, if a zone that comes in late with purple feels that you have... if they poke you and they see that you have double or triple white, they are aping you regardless of anything. No matter how good you are, you're getting aped. So yes, it does come down to weapon metas and legend metas for sure. Like maybe if there was a more caustic Watson heavy meta, you could get away with that. But I think now when everybody is very... I would say we're currently in the era where everybody is more than happy to flex their mechanical skills, their one mag, so to say. Having low armor is a lot more punishing than before.
Yeah, that's a fair point. We have seen some big changes, big swings, the developers like to call them, when they make drastic changes to the game. And I think the TTK, the lowering of that was one of those, essentially increasing the damage of every gun, you know, taking away head armor, taking away red armor for the most part, like, you know, obviously making it a lot rarer. You'll always see it in an end game in ALGS, but it's a lot harder to come by in, you know, with the game at large. So a couple of changes that do have an impact on that. Now, most teams have pulled up to Blossom Drive by now. We're having a look at just in pajamas here. They're very slow as they rotate through draft point, and they've got OMiT ahead of them as well. Of course, OMiT are the guys playing a very interesting composition of Sia, Mirage, and Bangalore. But we'll tune in with Falcons, who, despite having 24 points, there's a little bit of a gap between them and the next team. Honestly, they're not one of those teams, the other like 8 teams that are on 30 points-ish. But, you know, Falcons are one of those teams that always have a chance to bring it back, and this is probably one of the smallest deficits you could ever have in a game 5, Chris.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's so... Oh, dude, I love the tension. I love seeing anybody can come out on top because the points are so close. Falcons, though, opting for the northern side of Blossom on top of their bridge, holding out. I like this spot a lot, but it's incredibly hard to hold because you have 2 chokes. Never mind the fact that somebody could swing from the southwest side of them to make an interruption in their fight. But... no, can they hold it or can they not? We'll have to see a little bit later, but it's definitely a tough spot. All depends on how teams around them play rather than how they play, because they are really good. But speaking of how people play, NIP right now doing macro, I want to see their... I want to hear their thoughts and see what they do, so let's have a listen in with NIP.
I'm watching our... I'm going to go peek our southeast.
Those guys are close enough that if we fight here, they will just slide down and third us. Want me to ult again?
Yeah. I'm gonna go
They
try
could
to
have
slow
third.
down.
Oh no, there's no zone beacon. I don't know where. Nobody is fucking third here.
Just re-wall.
Wall again.
Wait, we have like a, what is this walk-in? Can you guys hold this? Can I go look at this?
Yeah.
It's insanely safe.
They're gonna get pushed again up here.
It's like a big ass highway.
Kind of sketchy.
Big ass highway.
Like right here, we can look if they like swing a certain side.
Wait, safe all the way up to me here.
But the building, yeah, it just got bamboozled. You want me to walk up, Cole?
Have a balloon.
They're watching Deadass might have died out of the air.
Oh, team on me.
But no, she didn't.
They're playing underneath.
They're in this like staircase.
I'm 310. Okay.
One of those staircases that you can like kind of see through.
They're kind of on the end of your bridge.
Fucking 16.
Sparrow is, yeah.
How are they able to play all the way
Dumped his
out
ults.
there?
The Phoenix on the ground as well.
What the hell? I don't understand this at all. I have 2 ult XOs, by the way. I'm playing up with Cody.
Like really close to
I
playing
almost have
more and see
purple.
what's going on.
Even the likes of NIP a little bit confused about how the game's played out, because hey, there's 19 teams alive. How are they able to play all the way out there? Where are all the teams essentially as they do their macros? Very interesting to hear, because a lot of these teams on the go have their set macro and routing, but when things don't really feel how it, like in quotes, how it should play out, they start to get a little bit confused. Kind of the same effect of, you know, how often it happens where, hey guys, there's 10 teams here, the zone has to be here, and then essentially 3 people misread it, but everybody just dropped on the same spot, and now everybody has to get over the hill. It's a tough scenario, but NIP looking quite happy with that spot for now, because they don't really know how many teams are there.
Yeah, it's like a bit of a weird snowball effect, right? It just sort of picks up momentum once too many teams pile into one place. And I mean, I'm interested to see where this next zone goes, Graceful, because it could be one of those. It's looking like it may shift away from Blossom Drive, but you never know. It could be a switch back as well. If it is a switch away, Ninjas in Pajamas are in an amazing spot, because there's only a few teams over the other side towards City Hall. But we'll get that info in just a second. We are looking at the very stacked building. As you can see, multiple teams in the area. Multiple teams even within the same building this early in the game is an interesting thing to see. We're seeing the eventual evac here from Ninjas in Pajamas. And a double knock as they land. And it's... oh my lord. Okay, well, let's get the map up at some point here, because we are going to, if they do actually get this reset, it's going to be insane for Ninjas.
I mean, they might get this reset unless they're getting aped right here. I don't think they will be getting aped. The zone is going to NIP. They get this reset and they're feeling very comfortable as they're looking at the map right now. Zone is actually pulling more towards them, as other teams are currently stepping up to see if they can make something happen. As McLovin is on 1 HP and he goes down to a thermi. This might be it though, the opening that this board team needs to close something out.
Yeah, board. I mean, they've got the knocks like 3-4 times on Ninjas in Pajamas, but they're taking so much grief damage that they can't actually get in there and finish the kills off. That said, Ninjas have been split up, but so are board. At this moment, there's like 2 groups of these teams next to each other. And here we go. This might be the final showdown between Kyra Shin. And he does just finish off Vayne. Now, you would be forgiven for thinking, hey, why didn't he box? Isn't this a 1v1? No, as I said, both members have other team members across the, like 100 meters away down the other side of the map.
that was a good effort though. I'll have to add to that. He tried his best, maybe wanted to wall climb and then jump back up to the next side there on the bridge, but came down to that fight. Nice turn though with the Devo. Other teams as well fighting right here. Joe Max just got a thirst on Zell. Good start for them, as now everybody noticed that the zone is moving. Zone closing, 20 seconds left. Everybody's doing their macro. 18 teams alive, which means everybody is trying to funnel through the same chokes essentially. It's gonna be tough for them. But we saw, however, Falcons try to opt for a little bit earlier on. Liquid Alienware feels pretty good in their spot, as Cody is currently in a solid spot, looking to Kraber people already.
Yeah, I'd love to know which one of these teams actually managed to get a console scan, because there is a ring console down at Neon Square. So there was potential for teams to sort of sit there and grab a ring 4, ring 5 scan. It looks like Leave No Witness is actually going for a respawn in that area right now. As you said, Falcons made an early move. They're the blue team sitting to the left of the zone. Corinthians are in the middle, but you've got to understand that all of those teams on the south side, they were even further south just a second ago. They were sitting down in Blossom Drive. They had no idea that the zone was going north, and it is a big shock to 75% of the teams in this lobby right now.
I think we might be seeing some look at this zone pool lol tweets after this game, but 11 teams actually on the opposite side of the zone now hope that they had a god spot or a playable area late game, now are on the move to walk in with the zone closing in 30 seconds. As Forbidden Gaming, currently placed first on 37 points, are opting for a reset in this house. They have to move in 20 seconds though. It's gonna be tough getting past another 6-7 teams in front of you.
Yeah, well, they saw the Leave No Witness respawn coming in, and they moved very quickly to pick up the KP before they could even restock and barely, you know, even pick up their death boxes. So I think that's a smart move from Forbidden Gaming, and a couple of easy KP dropping right out of the sky on top of their heads means they actually move up into first place.
On the opposite side of things, we see a little bit of Macer on Twisted action right here, as now we shift towards Forbidden Gaming in that action. As we said, they just got the reset and started walking in, immediately gets into a fight. Dan takes one out, Costilias takes one out. Everybody's shooting them as everybody's funneling through the same eastern side of the choke right now. Some teams are splitting left, some teams are splitting right, and now you have at least 3 teams on each choke.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Flat trying to hold out Virtus.pro. We got Fusion trying to hold out CIMJ MX. They're actually just going to follow them up the evac tower in the end. They decide that's the best way to make their move into the next zone, but there's not going to be a lot of spots left for them. Look how many other teams have been eliminated on these rotates in.
Yeah, I think we saw 6 teams get eliminated with this, and zone actually ends quite just about in front of Fusion. If they can survive here when there's a team above them, LG shooting down their cover right now, and if they start widening out and shooting them from the side, they're gonna have a tough time, as right now they're trying to almost get clipped though. Nocturnal almost goes down to a random riot drill.
Oh my lord, that was coming in from Fusion from long range, and not only that, but he was so close to popping the meds there and actually just being safe from that incidental damage. But wow, this is a crazy zone. I love these. These are my favorite. When you get everyone start, they have to think on their feet, Graceful. They have to be like, okay, the plan has gone horribly wrong. What is our plan? Like F.
Yeah, normally I always say have plan A, B, C. This is our plan. If that's taken, we do this, and if that's taken, we do this. But when you're at this point where, like I said, 11 teams have to move from the south side through those chokes, you need a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way 11 letters to make you through. Now, Falcons, though, we're sitting in a comfortable spot. That's why they were shooting at everybody. However, depending on if the teams above them gets a free playable area, they're gonna have to focus on the team southern of them, and if that happens, opens up for the team in front of them to potentially 3-peat.
Yeah, Fusion below them, Liquid Alienware on the height above them, or just across from them, I guess. You can see they're desperately trying to huddle behind this mobile shield right now. Potentially think if they get some angles here on Falcons, and it looks like they are. Falcons don't seem to be watching their back quite as much against Liquid right now. They were too focused on Fusion, and that could be the end of them.
Yeah, huge Kraber shot came in as well, I believe now, as OMiT is slaying people with that devotion, but they fall down because when you're fighting that close, when there's 10 teams alive, zone 5 closing, you can't fight for free.
Movistar Koi also going down here. So many teams desperately wanting to get those points, considering how close everything is. Somehow Falcons get the reset, but another nice bow shot comes out from Team Liquid. They are the bane of Falcons' existence right now. They are tearing them apart feather by feather.
I mean, hey, Rock also not letting go of that gas pedal like we said earlier. They've been consistent, and they're consistently in endgame zones. Right now, they're still picking up KP, feeling really confident, as Liquid is still beating up on other people. Went for a fight as they get an elimination on Rock, feeling good about themselves, but can they get this reset off? It's getting kind of slow. Everybody's slow right now, but it does look like the reset is possible.
Yeah, it looks like Falcons want to take one back here. They noticed that Team Liquid were a little worse for wear after taking all those fights and getting all the KP, and Falcons correctly have identified that this could be the opportunity, but they don't pull the trigger in the end. There's just a little bit too much cover available for Liquid, so there's just kind of full resets all around.
I saw 2 arrows and 17 energy weapon. That was the fastest swap to P20 I've seen because he had no ammo left to fight. They've been shooting so much at Falcons, he almost ran dry. Now, however, Corinthians in a prime spot here, but can they hold this positioning, as I believe those are stairs maybe, or platforms they can climb on to get up to them and poke them. Corinthians looking to hover here and see if they can hold their platform.
So a lot of teams are going to be in this tiny little compound over here. Meanwhile, Falcons have a lot of the empty space outside to themselves, currently being challenged by Fusion. But it's going to be Corinthians versus LG and also Liquid Alienware in one big scuffle over here. Falcons do eliminate Fusion. Corinthians go the way of the dinosaurs, and all of a sudden it's Liquid Alienware and LG trying to set up while Falcons are just desperately needing some medkits, some syringes down the bottom here. That said, Watson fences, Newcastle walls, they've got lines of defense.
It's going to be a tough spot for sure because they're in a pinch in between people. Everybody's trying to say, LG, go to their side. No, LG, go to their side. Who are they going to push? Because they have to make a decision. Play for second here or die third guaranteed. They're opting to fight for second place, I believe, as they try to get onto the platform, as they push onto Falcons. They should open it up for Liquid to close out the game.
Okay, it was a really nice fight win by Falcons onto LG, but with his longbow, he's gotten rid of the scope because he doesn't need it. Liquid Alienware, they ran through the end stages of that lobby. It was fight after fight, reset after reset. No one could get the better of them, and I think they're going to have quite a few KP to accompany the 12 placement points they got for winning that game in towards the end of our series here, Graceful.
I mean, that was wonderful. We even got to see a lot of the POV from them as well when they came fighting from the same side as Falcons, essentially. They took a fight, wiped that, took a fight, got a reset barely as Falcons tried to shoot at them a little bit back, still climbed the wall, took out Corinthians, and then played their side of the platform there to take out the game. Phenomenal play, you know. They're playing their space, they're playing aggressively, showing presence, and teams don't want to run into them because they are laying down the law right now.
Well, laying down the T-Law, indeed. 24 points for Liquid Alienware. Impressive from them. Falcons, we were talking about how, you know, they could be looking to get towards the top of the standings because everything was so tight, and they actually might be somewhere close to that with a 16-point game. Simj getting 8, Rock getting 9. That could be an important 9 points there from Rock. Our top 3 teams, we can see a dominant performance by Liquid Alienware gives them 12 kills and over 4,000 damage. Meanwhile, Hal and Zero neck and neck there with 3 kills apiece.
Yeah, really good play from them, you know. We said a lot about Liquid Alienware, but Falcons, from playing that bridge spot, is one of the areas that I actually like to see, where you're not committed to one side, where they could actually make it through pretty easily. They went there early, and they got a playable area, and they made it happen. Now, though, on the overall series results so far, flat, still dominant. I mean, they're not at the first place now, but they are still dominating. I'm so happy to see those amount of kills, but I would like to see a little bit more placement points as well, because if you can up that average, they're gonna be like leaps and bounds ahead of people. But right now their kills are popping off though.
Yeah, meanwhile though, you know, the 2nd to 6th or even 7th spots, I think, were still very, very tight. So a nice win by Team Liquid. Alienware there will put them firmly on top of the standings. 55 points. Can they close it out? We'll see soon with Game 6 just around the corner.
Welcome back, folks. Game number 6 on the horizon here in match day 8. And Team Liquid Alienware have just taken a big step out in front of the competition. It may not seem like much, Graceful, as it still is within 10, 15 points, something like that. Yeah, within 14 points. But given that before that game, everybody was within 3, 4 points of each other, it's a pretty big step out.
I mean, what a game, what a game, what a game.
There we go. Taking a look at this last game. This was, I think, a pretty good spot that Liquid Alienware had. Their defense against Rock was really impressive. From then on, Graceful, I was surprised as we moved further into it that even from the low ground, Liquid actually had a pretty good spot to play and converted very well against the likes of LG.
I mean, they converted well, but they did not stop aggressing. Did we see this wall climb right here? They got 2 of the kills, and they're still going for it. They then play their platform and managed to push LG into Falcons, which closes out the game for them kind of easily. But what we didn't, like what we catched as well, we probably didn't catch all the action. Playing this spacing properly is exactly what took it home.
Yeah, what was really funny to me, I know you were talking about some of the ammo issues that were had earlier. This longbow action, I don't know, I don't know how much this was on the forefront of everybody's mind. That guy's got 7 bullets in his Devo. Jaguares was using the longbow not out of style, but out of full necessity in that end game. So it was crazy to watch them pull out the win. And like you talked about, really playing the end game quite well did Liquid to push LG away from them. Falcons, I think, the unlucky inheritors of the push, but still a very good game for both LG and Falcons. As now moving into match 6, yes, Team Liquid Alienware do lead the pack. Falcons still right up behind them at 4th place with 40 points overall, 15 points separating Falcons and Liquid Alienware. Going into this match, we will have Newcastle banned with Wraith gone as well. You've got limited defensive options. You can still run Conduit, you can still run Pathfinder if you want to move your team from place to place, but A lot of folks gone here.
Yeah, most definitely. One of the interesting things that we saw as well was that it was one team each taking a victory, not a complete landslide by having 3 wins like we saw earlier in EMEA, or 2 wins even, as well as we saw from War back then. I think this is really good to see a lot of comp variety as well. We saw a little cheeky Maggie right there hit that Q through the wall. They did manage to get a little bit of reset there, but that's always scary. You know how you feel sometimes when you're like, the only thing that could kill me here is this one character, and somebody in Pro League plays that one character in your spot. That's a horrendous feeling right there.
You're like, no! And hey, to their credit, Movistar Koi still running Maggie. You know what surprises me is people at all are still running Sparrow. Not because Sparrow's bad, by the way, just because Sparrow was our 2nd most picked legend for the first 3 games of the day. Even now, if we were to ban a legend after this game, Sparrow would be banned because I think like 16 teams are running him. So despite the popularity of the legend throughout the day, we're not actually seeing him removed from play throughout all 6 games.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun as well seeing a new legend being that balance, coming straight into comp. People immediately picking him up and making him work makes me so happy. Really goes to show how well designed he is, and I hope we'll get to see some more action of that. Other regions haven't really leaned into him as heavily as we've seen right here in the NA region, but regardless, nonetheless, more than viable, super solid pick, fun to watch.
Quick shout for Jaguares, who's on Catalyst instead of Newcastle this game. He did still pick up Devo Longbow. He's got a soft spot in his heart for that Longbow. And I'm excited to see what it'll look like for Liquid Alienware as they'll have to move out of the south towards Twisted Minds and Flat. This could be a crazy game, Graceful. Now, I say that because in theory, you know, Flat or Twisted Minds should, and I say should win because it's their spot. Realistically, Flat's not a zone team. This could just ruin their whole game. But they are so close to winning, sitting at 41 points to the 55 of Liquid Alienware that you got to give them some hope.
They could make it happen, but Dia, what happened last game? If it hard pulls north past that choke again, it's not easy for anybody full committing to it. Right now, there's 2 thoughts going on in these teams' head. And it's either, for sure, this one won't pull, or this one will pull like the last game. And whichever side you're on, you can get messed up by that pretty heavily. So we'll have to see what they opt for. Now for sure though, it does seem like some teams are leaning into the it won't pull this time. So we'll see how it plays out.
Sang waiting for his chance to shoot. There's a lot of shared space here. OMiT want to run the CIMJ Gambit once again, but didn't work out for them last time. They ended up getting chased down in a huge way. Cody just playing anchor for the squad. No Newcastle to quickly close the gap, and it will rely on the Sentinel shot that does admittedly whiff as Payne jumps down right on top of RKN. Almost an answer back though, and Sang does manage to grab the answer. This could be big for OMiT. Now 2v2 with Cody on the roof.
I mean, solid pick right there, climbing up on height for that. I don't know how Arcane, he probably got swung. Mirage ult coming out to see if they can make something happen. Maybe the Invis res here. Is this what they were picking Mirage for? Will this happen? I don't think so. But we'll see. Cody gets taken out really low. Sang has to retaliate in some way. He gets double swung, immediately goes down. As right now, it's looking kind of grim for OMiT as he is down to 1 HP, getting pushed solo now with 1 cell.
I'm just watching Payne's health bar, see if he bleeds out, if Cody's able to buy enough time for OMiT to even grab a single point here. At the moment with Cody disengaging and Payne getting rezzed, we're not going to see that point connect, but OMiT do manage to evidently escape. Looking at Ghost, seems like that last member of OMiT, Cody, has managed to escape without being spotted, although that was a nice snipe. And now with the survey beacon going, CIMJ knew exactly where Cody is. This evac tower could not be any more timely. You gotta feel bad for him, but CIMJ know what they're about.
You know when you have that butt clench where you're like, oh my god, he's about to hit me with the Hemi, and then you hear the evac come out, immediately takes away the fun. Fun, however, Sack gets almost ripped as Hal is on 1 HP as well. Zero gets it down on Slayer, and Sack 1 HP still. Huge fight there though. Blue goes down as well as Falcons seem to mop that fight pretty convincingly, I would say.
Yeah, the uncanny aim from Zero kicking in at the end there. Virtus.pro going down so early for one of the teams that I do get really excited for as we come into the match days. Being shut down early in match number 6 won't leave them especially happy, but at the hands of Falcons, who do have a way up the leaderboard to climb themselves, it's understandable. It's got to happen to someone.
Yeah, most definitely. It just, you know, it is what it is. A lot of these teams, though, however, opting in for the central zone pull that we saw last time. Will this pull north or not? Most definitely not, right? It can't be pulled north twice. That'd be very sad. The LG on the rotate. I am not liking the triple white armor, though, but I'm sure they'll be able to grab a little bit of juice, a little bit of that Evo on their way towards the zone.
It is going to be a challenging game if you are approaching from that south side, though, even if it does pull north, which, again, we have to keep making allowances for but, like, surely it doesn't. It is going to cost a lot of squads that are in Neon Square that have set up already for a game that they expect will be pulling to them. Like, somebody's got to get it wrong. Most Loved, granted, won't be one of those squads because they're playing a totally different game to most other teams, playing a little bit further around the western side of the ring and preparing for a late pull no matter what it is.
This is one of the things that this is what I consider mid-speed, and also one of the things I like the most is where you're playing in a spot. If you're not 100% sure where the zone is going, which they're opting for, they say we don't know if it's going to pull again. They play in a spot that is very adaptable, and you have several options. You don't lock yourself into, if it pulls here we win, or if it doesn't we insta-die, like those 8 teams dying with the zone closing, essentially, right? So now they just say, hey, let's just play in the middle, whichever side it pulls will be fine. The same way Falcons did playing that bridge side, they could just immediately cross the choke. Honestly, a really good consistent play, I think, because you will always guarantee a playable spot as the zone shifts, whether it goes up, whether it goes down. And now this time it went down. So all those teams that opted for this are very happy. This is probably one of the zones that they thought it was the previous game, but other teams more than fine with this. Everybody on Edge is going to play Edge, but most Loved are saying, hey, now it actually pulls south. Maybe let's see what happens.
Yeah, if you're TSM, you're pretty happy about this as well. Ring Console over at Street Market will give them the advanced information that we have here on the broadcast. Movistar Koi going to be moving in, maybe clashing with Corinthians a little bit later on. And Falcons over at Resort also just got the advance info on this ring. So while a lot of teams have piled up here in the south, at least these couple of squads that are playing around the edge, I think LG will get the scan very soon as well, will have a little bit of extra confidence to work with. And you're already seeing TSM start to make moves on that, jumping right into the center of zone. You imagine that squads like Board and Citadel are noticing that teams like TSM are moving in, teams like Corinthians are moving in, and should have extra info and are acting with that in mind. So watch for how other teams adapt as our squads that got the ring scan start moving in, and what other teams do in response.
Yeah, most definitely. This is one of those times that I've talked about as well, when you see a bunch of teams, you're like, everybody's here, it has to be right. This time it ended up being right. Although it shifts a little bit more towards the right side. So actually, half of these teams are actually not in the next zone when this one is fully closed. So that's going to be fun to see a lot of house fighting for once on this map. Normally you see a lot of outside fights, but house fights, in my opinion, is very fun because you see plays around different layers, different floors, also doors, different play style compared to just a raw gun skill outside in the open, which, you know, adds a lot of more depth to the fights.
An IP, one of our teams to watch, one of our teams very close to qualifying into the mid-season playoffs and hitting that magic number that Xander Commander gave us earlier. We're going to play slow and careful for right now, something that Game 6 does tend to bring us. One of the teams that, with some good play, could make it to the top of the leaderboard, could continue cementing their legacy here in the Americas, is Falcons. Let's take a listen in with Falcons, see what they're thinking in the last game of the day.
We can kill this kind of. We can keep going, keep going. I'm with you. Someone's landing. Oh, my flying on us! Oh, they went big building. I think so. Say meds. You can hit meds again, no? Put fences down. Can you hit meds again? Oh. Hold on. I don't have Q for 13. I don't have Q for 13. Hold on. Excel's somehow breaking my shit. I can hold. Bro, is that? Well, I think the map room. Listen, the map room is like blocked by events. I can't see it. I think we just walked through it. Alright, I don't have that many fences. I'm with you though.
Make a double smoke, just in case.
Alright.
We can cross the one in front of us, one smoke. Come.
Alright. Someone's in beacon building console.
We can cross this one.
Wait, I'm not with you. Coming. I'm here.
Next one's free as well. Someone bridge. I'm smoking, go next building.
I'm with you.
Someone's in left.
Someone's right of us, yeah. I can't hit the map room. I just stuck me the fuse go.
I think you can gen.
Okay, I'm just gonna gen in the corner, careful. Move out of the corner.
Right, on stairs.
Okay, there you go. Break that. Okay, your Q break.
Zip someone?
Listen, calm fucking Newcastle ult so I could nade like a fucking bow them, because I have 4 nades. Okay.
There's no Newcastle.
Pretty active mid game for Falcons, even though we don't see a lot of kills go down. I'm taking note of the fact that they're, you know, graceful as you like to say, holding hands. They're making sure that every single move that they make is one that is synchronous.
Yeah, very good move. And also they had that mid speed again. They got the zone knowledge and then immediately decided to go house to house, smaller by smaller. They made their way into the next zone actually. Without knowing about it, it might pull a little bit further. And if it does not, they are very happy, as other teams will be struggling with this zone. When the next zone shows for them, a lot of fighting will be happening, and it should happen earlier rather than later, because like I always tend to say and repeat, when the zone is actually closing, you don't want to be taking too many fights because everybody is currently on the move to make it in.
Ghoststeelers going to pick up the mythic crate. What is in it? Well, I know something's in it. There it is. Triple take is going to be picked up. A big win for the lads. Big win. I'm attached to this this narrative of the triple take having an inferiority complex now.
I don't know. I feel like triple take is in a solid spot. It chunks you when you're like anywhere from mid range to close range, and long range it's still okay. I still would opt for the Peter because I just really like Peter. It feels good to shoot. It sounds good, everything. It's kind of like the wingman. Even when wingman isn't completely optimal, who does not like shooting a piercer wingman, hearing the sound of that, you know?
Yeah, it just feels good. And hey, sometimes that's all you need. Noticing that Flat is in a fight right now. Flat, our second place team. They were knocked out here. I would put Liquid Alien wearing a slightly more comfortable spot, although admittedly Flat was second by only 1 point to the like 800 teams tied for 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, they managed to get a reset. No real full commits right there. Now they're gonna maybe look on the prowl though, because they're like, hey, you guys didn't clean us up after one of us got down. Maybe we're gonna see if we can poke you guys. 120, I will repeat, 120 on the clock right now before the zone closes, as teams are going straight for the balloon. Will they get this down? They should get this down, and they do get it.
Big Louie is big, actually. That was a crazy knock. Another tricky, not going to be picked back up either. I think that's a full thirst. Yeah, the ring ends up taking him down. That is a full point collected for Flat at 0 cost and 0 risk. Moving them up the leaderboards. Remember, Falcons still in this conversation as well. Rock right next to Falcons on the leaderboard.
I mean, this is anybody's game still. Any pop-off moments could shift the leaderboard so drastically that we wouldn't recognize it from the previous game, because it's so even. Now though, teams are moving into this zone currently, but the zone pools where nobody is almost playing currently. Southwest, as we can see on the map right now, and teams are gonna have to work their way in, because the collapse is happening northeast, where I see at least 10 teams needing to fight when the next zone closes.
This one is not going to be easy for anyone. Fusion, most loved board, Movistar, Koi, Corinthians, all going to be clashing on the way in. And that's to say nothing of the ninjas in pajamas. They'll be right next door to all of that most loved. Keeping an eye on them as they stare down Forbidden. And let's not forget that in the middle of all this, Falcons, who just managed to make it into the top 3 last game, are still a big team that you have to keep your eyes on, whether you're in the Americas, whether you're playing anywhere around the world, you never count this team out as they make a push up for first. Yes, it's slow, but this 4th place from last game didn't emerge out of nothing.
I mean, that's definitely a team you cannot count out. They made it back from worse scenarios than this, and I think that they are more than happy where they are currently. They're gonna have to fight quite a bit, but if everything happens to start up at the same time, they could be looking at potential KP pickups, which would be really big for them.
Slow moves from Flat, playing behind this car for right now. It's not ideal cover. It's just literally a place to survive right now. They're looking for a better spot, but these nades are going to make it really difficult. Stinger on top of them as well, and Flat are forced to drop without scouting, shooting Fusion directly in the back. Out goes the Stinger bolt to answer back. Flat have to win the fight, and they have to win it quickly. Fortunately, they don't lose anyone to the Stinger, but that's not true once Laser peeks over the edge. That's 2 down with just Qzier standing, and even on Sparrow, we've seen this guy play some pretty crazy games of Apex Legends on Ash. But I don't know if it's going to happen here. I don't know if we're going to get that same level of safety. A little bit of safety inside the zone at the very least. A res likely going to happen, but things are looking tough for Flat.
I mean, can he rest without taking all those ticks? I'm not too sure about it. Couldn't really see there. But now, other teams, though, seeing that, hey, we are not safe in for at least another 2-3 buildings. Movistar moving down the street underneath everybody. Panic from TSM, though, not letting them walk for free as he is starting to punish them with that Devo.
And board get taken out. Team Liquid Alienware and Falcons collaborating on those kills, and Liquid Alienware continuing to pull further ahead of the pack with every kill. They are the squad to look at right now. Talked about that difficult game too, but as it appears, that loss of momentum hasn't really affected Team Liquid Alienware. They are constantly coming back, or as Gordon Ramsay would say, they got that bounce back at him. I don't think he would say that, but I think he would say something like that. And it's really brought to a point with Liquid Alienware today.
As he would say, he wouldn't say that.
They got that bounce back. Doesn't that just scream Gordon Ramsay to you?
I think it sounded good regardless. However, now we'll see, though, Falcons on the move with the zone closing. They do have a spot here by the walls, but this is very nadeable. Can they hold this out, as there are a few teams behind them? I believe Most Loved and Citadel will have to opt for a fight test now. Citadel doesn't have a safe spot. They're getting downed and thirsted, and they're out. Falcons currently in a safe spot for as long as they don't get nade spam, but they do have a Watson gen to help them hold there.
Yeah, that Watson difference really helping him out. Corinthians noticed this, but Zero's not even taken down, even with focus fire from 3 members of Corinthians, because the zone just does too much. LG and Most Loved will leave us. Rock down to just 1 member on the high ground. May very well fall here. Some nice tricky nades tossed out by Deeds as he drops down to try and stick a res, and he may just do it after popping the shield bat. Duplex on the Conduit. Keeping things together for TSM. 8 squads left.
8 squads indeed. A lot of teams have been falling into kill feed because that zone was rough. Not that too many spaces to play without crossing the lines of sight of other teams. Movistar also gets taken out. TSM, however, in a solid spot, but they're on top of NIP. They should be able to close out that fight perhaps, but Liquid Alienware have been sitting in this compound for quite a bit. Very happy with that. They're in the God spot currently, where they are the last team to be out of cover, where every other team has to fight for something. Falcons, however, also in a solid spot, but should have to be forced to play underneath them. Will they let them play there and coexist? I don't think so.
Flat still technically in this as well. Started the game in 2nd place. Could still clinch something, but Liquid Alienware Falcons are pulling further and further away. And this spot from Liquid, it just looks like it'll be another win. It looks like they will be unstoppable on the day. Somebody has got to stand up to them, and Falcons trapped in a corner can do very little right now. We'll see what moves they make in the next couple seconds.
Any play that happens here could open up a window for Falcons to take this spot from them, but if nobody engages on them, Falcons is in a rough spot. When right now they're trying to cross and shoot through the window as Hal rips Yanya through the window, gets the gen down to survive for the moment. They can't get naded out. I don't think they will swing this because they are in the absolute longest. Team Liquid right here should be feeling very comfortable as they also have somebody above them.
It looks like mutually
out.
assured destruction between these squads, and as TSM get on top of here as well, we have that tiered birthday cake that World's Edge became famous for, and now E-District is quickly taking the title of Great spot for 3 teams, but Falcons have increasingly little space to play with. Zero's going to go down. Can Waltzy stick a res? He's got that quick Watson res, but it's not going to work as Liquid Alienware move on in. They know they got to clear Falcons out, and they do. Liquid Alienware do the job of taking out the competition in second place and then get taken down themselves. TSM continue to rocket on forward with Gent down. Duplex keeps the squad illuminated with the radiant transfer, and it will be TSM that rise up and strike back at the lobby in game 6.
Solid performance from TSM right there, playing on top of Team Liquid, seeing all the action go down underneath them, even grabbing a couple more KP on the way as they close out that game very confidently. Huge game to them, actually. So it's going to be fun to see the leaderboard here. Before we go there, I'm going to have to say, though, great job from them. Solidifying themselves as a consistent team there. And Panic showing promise as everybody was hoping for as well.
Being one of our only teams, I'm going to double check that statement. Don't worry, guys, but I'm going to double check our only team. Yes, our only team to be running Conduit that game. So maybe Keon was onto something after all. Genome, I don't know if it was the Conduit. I don't know if it was the positioning. I'm not sure how many variables you really narrow it down to in an end game like this in the ALGS, but I'm going to call it the Conduit. It's a big win for TSM.
It was a big win for them. It was also a big win for T-Law there as well. And I'm going to give them credit. We don't know if they deserve it or not. I'm going to give them the credit that they expected that it was Falcons in that corner, right? So I just want them, you know, to make that call to say, hey, if we can correctly identify that is Falcons, we push them. Doesn't matter if we die. We're way ahead of them. We solidify ourselves in the #1 spot, and we take away the win for the week. It was a crucial fight win. It was a crucial int, even if you want to call it that, for T-Law in that final game, and it essentially bought them the win overall for the day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of calculation that goes into these end games. You know it yourself, Graceful. On one hand, you're playing Apex Legends and you want to win the game. On the other, you're always playing with an awareness of what the leaderboards are like, what teams are in the lobby, and how you can manipulate that to your advantage.
I mean, most definitely. Sometimes, a lot of the time, in bigger tournaments, you might even be playing for the money, because like the higher placement you go, you get the higher amount of prize pool reward as well, which is really good. And people are happy to just say, hey, you know, if we can get top 3, top 2 instead, is really good. But at the end of the day, you also have some heavy hitters that are winning stuff, you know, like the likes of Falcons, Alliance, Na'Vi, and other teams as well have been when you're winning, you're playing to win, because you know the potential. We can win all of these tournaments. But for the other teams that are playing a little bit more passively and they're just happy with where they are, it really goes to show the difference of mindset between teams levels, where one team is truly manifesting themselves and believing in themselves, and the other teams are kind of comfortable and happy with where they are at.
TSM very happy with where they're at, finishing that 6th game of the day. 10 points via kills for a total of 22. CIMJMX coming up to me as a surprise, Genome. Also 10 kills.
Yeah, damn, a 19-point game. That's going to do huge amounts for them, considering they were down in 16th, I think it was, coming into this last game. And considering how tightly scrunched up everyone was, what will that do for them in the series results?
Ooh, nice foreshadowing. Does TSM come in and swoop that win away from Falcons? Or rather, win the 2nd place. The move right up behind Liquid Alienware, because Liquid Alienware, as you identified earlier, Graceful, did a really good job of going, here we go, this is how we win the game. But to have TSM come in and take the 2nd place away from Falcons, it adds insult to injury. Overall, Falcons still are going to be leading here in the Americas. Shopify Rebellion coming up right behind them, but TSM with the 2nd place today come up within touching distance of Shopify Rebellion and just barely ahead of NRG. Twisted Mind's going to be following that up, but when we look a little further down the leaderboard, remember, we are always monitoring the cutoff for who's making it into regional finals. Right now, were we to stop playing right now, LG would not make it. CTE and OMiT would not make it. And we'd have barely Citadel Gaming eking their way in. But the Pro League is not over. We've still got a ways to go for some squads to make their arguments for why they should be in the regional finals and have a shot at the mid-season playoffs. Genome.
Yeah.
We're getting pretty close to the end of the season. Graceful, we'll hear from you in a second, but it is just about right now dialing in to whatever small amount of success you've been able to find during the split and itemizing into that, as we've seen so many different styles and players succeed with those styles. Let's take a look at our Sony in-zone kill leader, and this is where I really wanted to hear from you, Genome. It is Nazul walking out just with the one kill over Hal, but it's an important one.
Yeah, I mean, they were the really frag-heavy teams that we saw today, right? 36 kills on the side of Liquid Alienware. So, I mean, pretty impressive, honestly, when you consider he's got Jaguares and Yanya on his team. The fact that Nyazul can pick that one up is pretty good. And anyone who can beat Hal, frankly, who, regardless of their spot in the lobby, is always kind of threatening to be that Apex Predator, is a good one for him. You can see nice for him. He actually gets to play the Sparrow all 6 matches. As you said, that kind of could have gone any way, considering it was, what was it, second played in maps 1, 2, and 3. A little bit crazy there that he doesn't even have to flex, and that allows him to just focus on the fragging and come out on top.
I'm very nicely played by Nazul, and it's great to see when Liquid Alienware is on top, their ability to frag. I think what's impressing me today, Graceful, is that this wasn't, well, I don't think we had a single game where I was like, wow, Liquid just steamrolled that lobby. It wasn't that kind of day for Liquid. This seemed much more controlled, and yet they still won quite convincingly.
Yeah, and for me, you know, I tend to look a lot at the micro decisions, and seeing that previous Stormpoint game as well, or sorry, E-District game as well, where they were doing everything from trying to poke out Falcons, get them to move one side, take a fight on one team. When they get the reset, they still climb on top of walls to push out Corinthians. Seeing this proactiveness is what takes them a little bit further than other teams, because some teams just go for zone, we get end game, potentially we win the game. These guys don't stop. They just keep looking for plays and plays and plays. And when they rack up really quick as well, they were mopping teams left and right, and then they solidify themselves at first place. I don't know. They probably knew which team it was to int at, like you said, a very smart int, let's just say that, to make sure that they win it all. But regardless, the awareness and split-second decision-making has been off the charts for them.
Yeah, and, you know, on the other side of this, one of the teams that I was looking at today, Genome, was Flat. And I think that, I mean, they had a great day. It was fun to watch them. They didn't come out with the win, and I wanted to get your read on, given that we largely saw them fall behind on E-District, what you saw as the biggest contributor to Flat not walking away in first, despite their good start.
Yo, it feels like they are being successful when they can sort of play the edge play style. But yeah, they clearly need to work on it when they have a home POI advantage. And, you know, they just need to sit on their hands for a little while and play a different style of Apex. So they've kind of got half the puzzle worked out. Clearly need to work on the other half to become a more well-rounded team.
And I love hearing from you guys. You know I do. But for a little bit more on the win from Liquid today, I wanted to hear it from a member of Liquid. I wanted to say from the horse's mouth, but then calling anybody a horse, it just doesn't quite work. It really it feels cheap because it's Liquid Alienware. It's like the horse. It's fine. Let's bring in Yanya. Talk to him a little bit about the fantastic match day that you've just had today. Yanya, welcome to the broadcast.
Yeah, hello guys. I hope you guys are fine. Yeah, we played really good today.
Yeah, I mean,
what was I answering?
We were very impressed. We were just
again. Sorry.
No.
What was
we were just
again?
talking about the way in which you won. It was a good day for Team Liquid, but it was also a very controlled day. And since your return to TL, I think that the squad has largely been looking for its form. So talk to me a little bit about coming back, rejoining the lads, and what that's looked like and the ways in which it succeeded and is still being worked on today.
Yeah, so this week pretty much we started playing more aggressively. We were like playing super passive. We were playing comps with Newcastle, and we were like literally not taking any fight. We were rotating really good. But yeah, we saw our results. We saw that it was not working. And yeah, this week we decided to play Sparrow. I think that's the biggest factor that we were doing really good this weekend. Yeah. We started playing more aggressive, but like not taking fights just to like take them for the points, you know, just like smart fights to win the games only. And yeah, I think it's working pretty good for us. And yeah, I think we figured it out. I think we're chilling.
I mean, seeing it in action as well on E-District, especially that game that you guys closed out there when you guys were essentially behind Falcons the entire game, when the zone really shifted, you know, all the way up north. You guys kept playing aggressively, and it was so much fun to see because you took a fight, got really low. I think all of you were like beneath 20 HP, got a reset, still decided to climb a wall to take out Corinthians essentially in that fight, and then play your side and push out LG towards Falcons and win the game very convincingly. You guys are clearly... I think you guys know that you guys are really strong at fighting, and you're showing presence where people are almost scared of you and backing off. The LG didn't even try to look at your side. I feel that game.
Yeah, we are just like being super confident. Like I was talking to my team that we don't need to hesitate on the calls that we're doing, because the other weeks we were like saying calls, but we were hesitating on the calls to do it, right? And we were just like dying for free. And this week we just like talked about it, and yeah, we didn't hesitate to do it today, and it worked out. It's a confidence thing, I think.
It's a confidence thing, yeah, for sure. So are you saying that you more than likely now full commit to the calls rather than maybe hesitating? Like if it's a push, all three of you are swinging together now looking for kills and stuff? Because Nia, Sul, you as well, Jan and Jaguares, all of you can shoot your guns, and it's been fantastic to see.
Yeah,
nice.
It's working really good. Thank you very much.
So Yanya, you guys played Sparrow in every single game today. You know, you switched through some of the other legends as the bans came through, had some aggressive comps, had some more defensive comps, as you were talking about with Newcastle. But how is Sparrow feeling for you guys? Obviously the newest legend in the game, but he seems to have slotted straight into the competitive meta.
Yeah, I think it's working really, really good for us, because since I was talking at the beginning of the weeks, we're playing without Sparrow, right? But we saw that every single time that we were getting pushed by Sparrow teams, we were just like dying for free. And because we didn't like try it like ever on all the 3 weeks that we did really bad, and we were like at risk of not qualifying, we just like decided to try this week Sparrow, and I don't know. In my opinion, I think it's like the most broken character on the game for competitive right now. You can literally do like insane pushes, like from edge, from zone. You can play any comp, like any defensive comp, and you can add Sparrow, and you can just like kill everyone. Literally, they cannot do anything against it.
Wow. I'll tell you what one of the things that does make something look especially broken is when a team like you guys just comes in and wins with it. So, you know, you keep doing that. Eventually we'll get a nerf coming, I'm sure. Please, you know, calm down. Well, so since we've got you up here, any shout outs that you have for the fans, especially those that are rejoining you now that you're back on Liquid?
Yeah, I mean, I really want to thank like everyone supporting us. I know we were doing really bad, but I think we're back again on the top. I feel that we are practicing really good, and yeah, it's time to win LAN. But yeah, we still need to qual, right? But we're confident. We're confident from today, and yeah, I really appreciate everyone supporting us, for sure.
You've got a few more days to do it. You'll always have the support in the audience and on the broadcast. Thank you again so much for joining us, Yanya. You have a great evening.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night.
It is always nice to hear from our players, especially like that. I mean, we're calling for Sparrow nerfs Graceful, so, you know, you got to start the banner going. You got to get the brigade. I know Graceful's already in the DMs of all the devs, letting him know what's going on. Graceful, any final thoughts for the Americas today?
I think it was super exciting for different reasons. Like I said, the fact that it was so much full of tension. We saw that crazy pull as well. A lot of full packed action, and I can't wait to see even more phenomenal work from all the teams that managed to place where we kind of expected them to place, but Team Liquid taking it home for sure. Also flat though, honestly, that's the biggest one. Very sad when I said that, you know, can they play when the zone is on top of them, and they pretty much have 2 zones on them and they fell short, but still super solid day.
You know, they still got time, maybe. I don't know. They don't really have much time. The season's coming to an end. Genome, you know this better than anyone, having seen 3 regions as they approach the end today. How you're conscious, I'm not sure. It's a miracle, but if you have any thoughts that still manage to come through your mind in this haze, give them to me, please.
Yeah, look, I'll attempt to just like wring a few droplets out of my ears. I think the thing that sticks out to me when I look at the Americas region is it feels like they're bringing a bit of order to the chaos, right? The other regions with their picks and bans, you know, a little all over the shop, frankly. For Americas, we're getting this interesting progression where, you know, Alta, Ash, Ballistic get banned out, and then it's Wraith and Newcastle. And you see this progression where teams are picking these very effective, aggressive characters, and then having to move on to the defensive comps as they are banned one after the other. And it's kind of interesting because it feels like we get to see all these teams forced to play these different styles. And, you know, just like teams need to play edge and they need to play zone, sometimes it feels like they're being forced to play different types of team compositions at the same time. And it's rewarding teams who can think on their feet, teams who can be flexible, and teams who have, you know, are putting the hours, are grinding and really mastering the game of Apex Legends. And I love that.
It has been really fun to watch, and like you said, has produced a lot of exciting moments. Thank you so much, Graceful and Genome, for joining me today. I'm going to let you go rest, get some food. And for all of you who have joined us today in the audience, a big thank you to you as well for making this possible and so fun. I tell you what, we got a treat for you. We'll be back doing it again tomorrow, June 8th. We will have match day number 9, the last match day of the season before regional finals, your last chance to slot yourself into the top 20 teams in your region. We'll be starting things off with EMEA at around 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. BST, and you'll be seeing the likes of Alliance rejoining us. Game and Gladiators, FaZe, UAIM, and Mouse, we had an interview with today on the EMEA broadcast, joining us for that match K. 10K will also be back, excitingly, as part of Group C, so if you want to keep following that storyline, see how far they can keep it going, EMEA is your chance to do it in tomorrow's broadcast. We'll be back with the Americas right after that as well, so it'll be another full day of Apex Legends, and I cannot wait to see you there. From all of us here at Play Apex Esports, first of all, follow us, let us know what you thought, what was going on throughout the day, and also thank you so much for supporting the amazing esports that we're able to celebrate over here at Apex Legends. Thank you and good night.